Chapter 1789, Hell Suppression Tripod. Chapter 1789, Hell Suppression Tripod. Tianhuang Mainland, North Region, Pingyang Town. The martial Tao Prime Body stood in the courtyard and looked at the firmaments. His gaze was cold, and he was filled with a chilling, killing intent. The atmosphere in the courtyard turned extremely tense. Tao Yao frowned slightly at the side, worried. He had accompanied the martial Tao Prime Body for many years, but had never seen the latter reveal such a gaze and emit such a terrifying aura. Even in the battle against the primordial races and Blood Fiend back then, the martial Tao Prime Body remained calm. But now, something major must have happened for the martial Tao Prime Body to reveal such a gaze. Young Master, did something happen? Tao Yao could not help but ask. The martial Tao Prime Body was silent and shook his head gently without explaining. Although he could not see the situation in the starry skies, he could still sense the calamity that the Dragon Phoenix true body encountered clearly. A moment later, the martial Tao Prime Body appeared in the depths of the firmaments in a flash. Outside Tianhuang Mainland, a gigantic ball of flames was descending. It was filled with blood qi and had a terrifying might. The gigantic ball of flames was the Dragon Phoenix true body that was destroyed by King Yunyu. Although the life force of the Dragon Phoenix true body was destroyed by King Yunyu, the bloodline that flowed through his body still possessed immense power. The martial Tao Prime Body extended his palm and condensed a space to receive the Dragon Phoenix true body. Immediately after, he tore through the void and returned to Pingyang Town. What is this? Tao Yao asked in surprise when he saw the martial Tao Prime Body return with a battered item soaked in blood. The Dragon Phoenix true body's life force had long been shattered by King Yunyu's palm and was in an unrecognizable state. Even his skeleton could not be seen. This is the Dragon Phoenix true body that I cultivated. It was destroyed by someone. The martial Tao Prime Body said slowly. Ah! Tao Yao exclaimed in shock. What about your Green Lotus true body? Is it all right? Tao Yao was smart and immediately recognized that Su Zimo's two true bodies must have encountered a calamity after they ascended to the upper world. I don't know. The martial Tao Prime Body shook his head. When he caught the Dragon Phoenix true body earlier on, there was still a faint connection between him and the Green Lotus true body. However, right now, the martial Tao Prime Body could no longer sense the existence of the Green Lotus true body. That was because at that moment, the Green Lotus true body was devoured by the black hole along with the bronze square tripod and was completely isolated from the outside world. The martial Tao Prime Body took a deep breath and regained his composure. No matter what happened to the Green Lotus true body, the only thing he could do right now was to wait patiently and continue cultivating. Thankfully, for some reason, the martial Tao Prime Body did not choose to ascend and stayed on Tianhuang Mainland. Otherwise, the martial Tao Prime Body would have been doomed as well. The martial Tao Prime Body pondered for a moment, and his spirit consciousness moved, retrieving Heavenly Wolf that was burned by the three flames from his storage bag. After the martial Tao Prime Body comprehended the Tribulation Fire, he combined it with the martial Spirit Fire and Red Lotus Karmic Fire to burn Heavenly Wolf. This was the drop of blood in the silver mask. What's the origin of that bronze tripod and what treasure is it? The martial Tao Prime Body asked. I don't know. Heavenly Wolf shouted in pain. I already lost my memories when I woke up. I only know that it's called the Hell Suppression Tripod. Apart from that, I've forgotten everything. It's useless even if you burn me. The martial Tao Prime Body sneered. It was clear that Heavenly Wolf was dishonest. If what he said was true and he had already lost his memories, why would he impart the Three Corpses technique to Tao Lord Blood Fiend? The Three Corpses technique was a top-tier cloning technique of the Fiend sections. If Heavenly Wolf could remember such a secret skill clearly, how could he forget the origin of the bronze square tripod? The martial Tao Prime Body had a cold gaze and glared at Heavenly Wolf in the flaming prison in silence. Although Heavenly Wolf jumped and shrieked repeatedly from the three flames, he could still hold it in and refuse to say anything. The three flames could only threaten Heavenly Wolf. They were not enough to refine the latter completely. The martial Tao Prime Body ignored him and threw him into his storage bag. Tao Yao, I'm prepared to enter seclusion. I'll leave this place to you. The martial Tao Prime Body turned and said softly to Tao Yao. Don't worry, young master. I'll definitely protect Pingyang Town and you. Tao Yao said hurriedly with worry in his eyes. After a brief pause, he asked, Young master, are you all right? Tao Yao knew the origin of the Dragon Phoenix true body and knew what this body meant to Su Zimo. That was the reason why he was worried that Su Zimo would not be able to withstand the blow. If he were to cultivate in seclusion under such circumstances, it would be extremely easy for him to develop mental demons or even go berserk. I'm fine. The martial Tao Prime Body smiled faintly. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body was destroyed, it was not gone. In this seclusion, the martial Tao Prime Body was prepared to fuse the Dragon Phoenix true body into this body. It might be extremely difficult for the Green Lotus true body to fuse with the Dragon Phoenix true body. However, it was relatively simple for the martial Tao Prime Body to smelt the Dragon Phoenix true body. The martial Tao Prime Body brought the Dragon Phoenix true body back to the cultivation field set up by Dai Yu and channeled his blood chi slowly. In the blink of an eye, the martial Tao Prime Body vanished. In his place was a gigantic furnace burning with raging flames. There were 3 types of flames burning around the furnace alone. The body of the martial Tao Prime Body was like a gigantic furnace that could smelt 100 sutras, divine powers, and even flesh. The martial Tao Prime Body threw the Dragon Phoenix true body into the furnace and began refining. If he could refine the Dragon Phoenix true body completely, the martial Tao Prime Body might be able to master another flame. The black hole. Su Zimo had been floating here for a long time, curled up in the bronze square tripod as he frowned with a pale expression. Although he could hide in the bronze square tripod and not be devoured by the power of the black hole, he could not sense the passage of time here. There was no sound in the surroundings. A maddening sense of loneliness surged into his heart. His surroundings were dark, as though he was the only one left in the darkness, wandering aimlessly without an end. The bronze square tripod could only isolate physical power. However, the invisible power within the black hole was affecting Su Zimo at all times. Initially, Su Zimo could still calm down and comprehend the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. However, as time passed by, he felt increasingly frustrated. To be precise, he did not know how much time had passed. A month? A year? 10 years? If he could sense the passage of time, Su Zimo would feel much better. However, the emptiness, loneliness, and helplessness tortured him constantly. This was even more terrifying than any other power. He could only wait alone in this cramped space. His connection with the martial Tao Prime Body had been completely severed. Su Zimo shouted from the bronze square tripod, but there was no response, leaving only his echo that gradually weakened in the tripod. His spirit consciousness tried to probe the outside world through the 9 heavens living soil. However, his spirit consciousness was devoured by the power of the black hole the moment it left the bronze square tripod. Just like that, he floated. After a long time, Su Zimo's spirit was almost at the brink of collapse. Actually, Su Zimo was within the bronze square tripod and could not see what was happening outside. The black hole wasn't completely devoid of light. The outer wall of the bronze square tripod was the only light in the black hole. Chapter 1790, Awakening of the Divine Dragon. Chapter 1790, Awakening of the Divine Dragon. If there were other living beings in the black hole, they would definitely be able to discover the shimmering bronze square tripod. 3 sides of the bronze square tripod were shattered, but the cracks on one of the tripod walls had already healed. A divine dragon carving that spiraled up appeared on the repaired wall of the tripod. It was lifelike and emitted a powerful might. The divine dragon etched on the walls of the tripod faced the vast world with its head and eyes closed. Suddenly, the divine dragon seemed to have come alive, and its eyes suddenly opened. Its gaze was deep and exuded an unparalleled aura of indifference towards all living beings. Roar! A majestic dragon roar sounded, piercing through metal and cracking rocks. The divine dragon crawled out slowly from the wall of the tripod. It was covered in green scales that shone with a cold glint, and its claws were sharp, as though they could penetrate everything. The divine dragon on the bronze square tripod had truly come alive. It looked around and seemed to have realized where it was. Its gigantic tail coiled around the bronze square tripod, and it flew in a direction. Dragon roar? In the bronze square tripod, Su Zimo murmured with a lost expression, "Am I imagining things?" Immediately after, Su Zimo felt his body slam heavily against the inner wall, as though he was moving rapidly in a certain direction. It had been a long time since he felt that way. In the black hole, Su Zimo could not sense the passage of time, direction, or even whether he was moving. But now, all those senses had returned to him. He could not believe it. After a long time, Su Zimo suddenly felt his body lighten. Although he was still in the relatively cramped bronze square tripod, he no longer had the maddening feeling of emptiness and annihilation. A long-awaited aura seeped into the bronze square tripod through the 9 heavens living soil. It seemed to be heaven and earth essence chi. Immediately after, Su Zimo sensed the passage of time. Could I have already left the black hole? Su Zimo's eyes widened in shock. By the time the green divine dragon carried the bronze square tripod and charged out of the black hole, its power seemed to have been exhausted and it dimmed. After floating in the black hole for so long, the divine dragon escaped with the bronze square tripod and had long deviated from the location where King Yunyu attacked. The surroundings were vast starry skies with some stars floating. On the other side of the stars was a gigantic shadow that seemed endless. The divine dragon sensed for a moment and swept up the bronze square tripod, descending towards a star around the shadow. Initially, the speed of the bronze square tripod's descent was still under control. The light emitted by the divine dragon dimmed and eventually turned into a green streak of light, returning to the intact wall of the bronze square tripod. The bronze square tripod was falling out of control and was getting faster. In the bronze square tripod, Su Zimo suddenly realized that something was amiss. He hurriedly put away the 9 heavens living soil and released his spirit consciousness, wanting to check out the situation outside. At that moment, the surroundings were already burning with flames because the bronze square tripod was falling too quickly. Su Zimo had wandered in the black hole for a long time before escaping, and his reaction was still a little slow. He was alarmed and wanted to control the speed of the bronze square tripod, but it was too late. Boom! There was a loud bang. The bronze square tripod had already landed heavily on the star, creating a huge pit as dust billowed. Although Su Zimo was in the bronze square tripod, he suffered a huge impact and was sent flying. He rolled dozens of feet on the ground before stopping. This time round, Su Zimo was severely injured. His head was spinning and his tendons and bones felt like they were about to split. Of course, compared to King Yunyu's attack and the dread in the black hole, this injury was nothing to him. The most important thing was that he had survived. He escaped from King Yunyu's pursuit and the black hole. Although the pain on his body was unbearable and he was covered in mud, Su Zimo was delighted and relieved. Right then, a racket sounded from afar, as though many people had heard the commotion and were rushing over. Su Zimo could not help but laugh. He had floated in the black hole for a long time without any sound or life. Although he did not know if these people were friends or foes, nor did he know what sort of existences they were, those voices sounded incomparably warm to Su Zimo at the moment. What happened? Why is there such a huge commotion? I saw a ball of flames descending from the sky earlier on. It should be a meteor. From the direction, it seems to be the spirit field under Xuanyang's jurisdiction. Immediately after, Su Zimo heard chaotic footsteps approaching from afar. Psst! Impressive! Someone gasped. The huge pit created by the meteor destroyed more than 10 mu one of the spirit field. 1,000 essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flowers have all been destroyed. Hee, this is a natural disaster. There's no one to blame. Xuanyang is probably going to cry to death, someone gloated. Keep your voice down. Don't let him hear you. That fatty is extremely petty and might come after us to vent his anger upon knowing about this. Su Zimo had yet to recover from the heavy fall. He sprawled on the ground and recuperated in silence to recover from his injuries. Given the regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus True Body, such injuries could be healed in less than half an hour. Although it was thin, Su Zimo could sense the heaven and earth essence chi around him. If he was not wrong, this should be the upper world. There was a trichiliocosm in the upper world, and he did not know which world he had fallen into. He was extremely unfamiliar with the essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flower that the people not far away were talking about, and had never seen them in the ancient books of Tianhuang mainland. Right then, someone exclaimed softly, "This doesn't seem like a meteor falling. There seems to be a bronze tripod beneath that pit." Indeed. Many people approached, and some of them could not hold back their curiosity and jumped into the pit to pick up the bronze tripod. The person exhaled and said. After lifting the bronze tripod, he placed it down heavily. "This sure is heavy. I wonder what grade of dermic treasure this bronze tripod is. It's useless no matter what dermic treasure it is. It's already useless given how shattered it is." The person threw the bronze tripod at his feet without taking another look. Everyone subconsciously thought that the bronze tripod was shattered because it fell from the skies and struck the ground. Su Zimo chuckled internally. Although one of the walls of the bronze square tripod was repaired, the other 3 walls were still battered. Even an expert like Qingying was wrong, let alone these people. Why is there a ravine dozens of feet long over there? Someone pointed to the edge of the pit and frowned. Everyone looked in the direction of the ravine. There seems to be someone over there. This ravine was created by this person on the ground? Hurry and take a look. There's no need to look. If the spirit field beneath our feet is already in such a state, how can any body of flesh and blood withstand it? They must have died a long time ago. Chapter 1791. Grade 1 Black Immortal? Chapter 1791. Grade 1 Black Immortal? As everyone discussed, the figure at the end of the ravine moved. Immediately after, right in front of everyone, the figure crawled up from the mud bit by bit. He's not dead. Everyone was shocked. The person looked like he had fallen badly. His clothes were torn and his face was filled with blood and mud. His original appearance could not be seen clearly. Only his eyes were bright and clear. Su Zimo looked wretched and extremely miserable. However, in that short period of time, his injuries were mostly healed. The wounds on his body had long recovered and stopped bleeding. He's a grade 1 Black Immortal. Yes, I reckon that he must have just ascended from the lower world. However, I don't know why he fell from the skies and landed in our snow wind ridge. Su Zimo could clearly sense the people before him scanning him with their spirit consciousnesses. Dai once told him that after ascending to the upper world, he would have to face 3 major realms, the Black Essence, Earth Essence, and Heaven Essence realms. Each major cultivation realm had 9 levels. Immortal cultivators of the Black Essence realm were called Black Immortals. The Grade 1 Black Immortal they were referring to was most likely cultivators at level 1 of the Black Essence realm. Just a Grade 1 Black Immortal? Su Zimo frowned slightly. To think that even after ascending through the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation in the lower world, he was only a Grade 1 Black Immortal in the upper world. Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness as well and scanned the dozens of people before him. He could also clearly sense that most of the dozens of people before him were at Grade 1 Black Immortal realm. However, the 2 people leading them were Grade 2 Black Immortals. Although he was facing Grade 2 Black Immortals, Su Zimo had a feeling that the power within his body could crush them with ease. It was not because of the Grade 9 Green Lotus True Body or any secret skills or divine powers. It was a sensation that felt like a suppression of cultivation realms. Su Zimo had just ascended to the upper world and was unfamiliar with everything. He merely felt that something was amiss. He felt the ground beneath his feet and breathed in the air around him, trying his best to sense adapt, and familiarize himself with it. Everything here was vastly different from Tianhuang mainland. Under normal circumstances, given the strength of the Grade 9 Green Lotus True Body's flesh, he would be perfectly fine even if he fell from the skies onto Tianhuang mainland. But now that Su Zimo was injured after falling, it was mainly because the gravity here was dozens of times stronger than in Tianhuang mainland. If an ordinary person were to arrive here without tribulation transcendence and their flesh was infused with heaven and earth essence chi, they would explode on the spot and die from the gravity. Furthermore, Su Zimo had just stomped on the ground gently, and he could clearly feel that the ground beneath his feet was even firmer. Even when the bronze square tripod descended from the skies, it merely created a huge pit on the ground. If that power were to smash into Tianhuang mainland, a gigantic valley would be formed. What's going on? Make way. A fat, round-faced fatty ran over from outside with an ugly expression and an aggressive aura. Fatty Duan is here. Hurry and dodge. Heh, that lad is going to suffer for destroying more than 10 mu of the spirit field. Someone shook his head gently and whispered, Duan Tianliang is narrow-minded and heartless. He won't let this person off easily. Although they lowered their voices, Su Zimo's hearing was strong, and he heard everything clearly. When Duan Tianliang approached and saw the huge pit in the spirit field not far away with cracks spreading everywhere, his round face darkened completely. Duan Tianliang shifted his gaze towards Su Zimo and asked coldly, You did this? Yes. Su Zimo nodded. I've only just arrived and destroyed your spirit field by accident. Do advise me on how I should compensate you. Su Zimo was polite not because he wanted to show weakness. Only, he was indeed in the wrong for this matter. Furthermore, he had just ascended to the upper world and everything around him was unknown. It was better to be careful. Foo-foo. When they heard Su Zimo's words, everyone laughed and shook their heads. Duan Tianliang's expression turned even uglier as he grit his teeth. Humph. More than 10 mu of my spirit field was destroyed just like that. The life of a grade 1 black immortal like you isn't even worth the thousands of spirit herbs in this spirit field. Su Zimo narrowed his gaze in silence. What's going on? Right then, a gentle voice sounded. Su Zimo glanced sideways and saw 6 people walking over not far away. Their leader was a young woman wearing a snow-white cloak. The woman was extremely beautiful and elegant. She had an oval face, and her beautiful eyes were clear. She wore light makeup, and her black hair cascaded down her shoulders like a waterfall. The woman no longer had an ethereal immortal aura. Instead, she had a pugilistic aura that made one feel closer to her. Su Zimo's spirit consciousness swept past the woman. The woman's cultivation realm clearly surpassed Duan Tianliang's. Su Zimo's initial guess was that this woman was most likely a grade 4 black immortal. The woman seemed to have a high status and was followed by 5 black immortals who looked like guards. One of the men wore battle armor and followed closely behind the woman with a cold expression. His cultivation realm was similar to hers. The remaining 4 guards followed behind the man. Their cultivation realms were also lower than the man. The mistress is here. A soft exclamation sounded from the crowd in front of the spirit field. Greetings, mistress. Immediately after, everyone in the spirit field cupped their fists towards the young woman. The woman smiled gently with a warm expression and returned the greeting with cupped fists. Thank you for your hard work, everyone. Greetings, Commander Liang. Everyone bowed to the cold man behind the woman. The cold man raised his head slightly with a haughty expression and merely grunted in response. When Duan Tianliang saw the two of them, he jogged over hurriedly as well. The gloominess on his face earlier on had vanished completely, leaving only grievance and indignance as he wailed loudly. Mistress, you have to uphold justice for me. For dozens of years, I've worked hard and diligently to manage this spirit field, not daring to slack off at all. At that point, many people pouted their lips. Duan Tianliang continued, just as the essence-nourishing grass and rain-frost flower were about to ripen, this person destroyed more than 10 mu of the spirit field. 1,000 stalks of essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flower were gone. Mistress, it's not my fault. It's all his fault. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo did not speak or argue. He merely stood there quietly. The young woman looked at Su Zimo with a hint of surprise in her eyes that disappeared quickly. Commander Liang glanced at Su Zimo and could not help but feel disgusted when he saw the latter covered in blood and mud. He retracted his gaze and refused to look further. Chapter 1792, Medicinal Farm. Chapter 1792, Medicinal Farm. Who are you? Where did you ascend from? The young woman looked at Su Zimo and asked with a bright gaze. I'm Su Zimo from the Pingyang mainland of the lower world. Su Zimo's words were half true. There was nothing to hide about his name. Even if he said it, it would not attract much attention. Although King Yunyu was his great enemy, the former did not know his name. However, he had just arrived in the upper world and everything around him was unknown. Out of caution, Su Zimo hid Tianhuang mainland and changed it to the name of his hometown, Pingyang Town. There were 1 billion minor chiliocosms in the lower world. Even if he made things up, the woman before him would not be able to discover any flaws. Why did you descend from the skies and land here? The young woman asked again. Su Zimo said, when I ascended, something unexpected happened. I wonder where this is. I heard that the upper world is vast and boundless with a trichiliocosm. Which world of the upper world is this? Su Zimo merely mentioned his experience of ascending casually before changing the topic and taking the initiative to ask. When everyone saw Su Zimo like this, they laughed. They had experienced this before as well. Back when they ascended here, everything in the upper world was unknown and new to them. Commander Liang smirked in disdain. The young woman did not show anything. This is the Dragon Abyss Star, a star under the jurisdiction of Green Cloud County. The land beneath your feet belongs to the territory of Snow Wind Ridge. Dragon Abyss Star? Green Cloud County? Snow Wind Ridge? Su Zimo was dazed. A single star was under the jurisdiction of a county? How big was Green Cloud County? As for which world of the upper world this is, I don't know either. The young woman hesitated for a moment. That's because I've never left the Dragon Abyss Star. Stunned, Su Zimo looked around instinctively. The others had calm expressions as well. It was clear that they had no doubts about the young woman's words. In other words, none of them knew which world of the upper world this was and had never left the Dragon Abyss Star. Why don't you leave? Su Zimo asked. Ignorant person. When he heard that, Commander Liang sneered, notwithstanding the Dragon Abyss Star. You'll be considered capable if you can survive beyond 5,000 kilometers of Snow Wind Ridge in this lifetime of yours. Initially, Duan Tianliang did not dare to interrupt when the young woman was conversing with Su Zimo. He was observant and jumped out hurriedly when he heard Commander Liang's mockery. Pointing at Su Zimo, he hollered, "What kind of a country bumpkin from Pingyang mainland are you? Are you laughing at your mistress? You're just asking for a beating." Duan Tianliang turned around and cupped his fists towards the young woman. "Mistress, don't worry. Leave this person to me. I guarantee that I'll tidy him up obediently." Someone at the side could not take it lying down and tried to smooth things over. He just ascended and doesn't know the situation. It's not his fault. Fellow brother, let me tell you, I've ascended for tens of thousands of years and have never left the Dragon Abyss Star before as well. That's right. It's meaningless even if you know which world this is. It's already not bad if we get the chance to visit Dragon Abyss City in this lifetime. Everyone said. Su Zimo was shocked and his heart suffered a huge blow. Those who could ascend were all paragons and monster incarnates of the lower worlds. However, even after ascending for tens of thousands of years, none of them could leave the Dragon Abyss Star. It was only now that Su Zimo truly experienced the vastness and mysteriousness of the upper world. Mistress, there's no need to explain so much to this person. Just leave him to the medicinal farmers. Commander Liang said softly. The young woman nodded slightly and looked at Su Zimo. No matter what, you have to compensate for destroying this spirit field. According to the rules of Snow Wind Ridge, all Grade 1 Black Immortals have to start from being a medicinal farmer. The two types of immortal herbs planted are the essence-nourishing grass and rainfrost flower. Under normal circumstances, every medicinal farmer has to farm 10 mu of land. Since you destroyed 13 mu of land, we'll leave the medicinal herbs planted here to you. You can only leave Snow Wind Ridge after these two immortal herbs ripen. Of course, you can also choose to stay. In Snow Wind Ridge, everyone is treated equally. If you can cultivate to become a Grade 2 Black Immortal, you can be a steward in Snow Wind Ridge and manage the medicinal farmers. At that point, Su Zimo looked at Xuanyang, who was not far away. The young woman smiled. You're not wrong. Xuanyang is one of the stewards of Snow Wind Ridge. If you have any doubts, you can ask him. Mistress, don't worry. Xuanyang patted himself on the chest. Leave this person to me. The young woman frowned slightly. He has just ascended and is severely injured. Let him rest and recuperate for a period of time first. There's no need to worry about farming. Why, yes. Xuanyang nodded hurriedly in agreement, but he sneered internally. Rascal. You've destroyed more than 10 mu of my spirit field. Watch how I torture you. The young woman cupped her fists towards everyone and bid farewell. Before long, the young woman who was about to leave turned back as though she recalled something. She came before Su Zimo and took out a jade bottle and a talisman from her storage bag. Handing it over, she said softly, there are some spirit herbs in this jade bottle that might be of some help to your injuries. In the lower world, dust removal is merely a minor dermic art. However, in the upper world, the dust removal art is an immortal art. Since you haven't cultivated it yet, take this dust removal talisman first. Go back and clean the mud on your body and recuperate well. Su Zimo's expression changed slightly. Although it was nothing much, he felt a sense of warmth in his heart. He had just ascended and did not know the woman before him. Even in the cultivation world of Tianhuang mainland, it was extremely rare for a woman as such who would be friendly to a stranger. Fellow brother, accept it. Our mistress is a very nice person. An honest middle-aged man at the side said with a smile. Don't just stand there. Take it. When the young woman saw that Su Zimo was still motionless, she took the initiative to pull Su Zimo's mud-covered palm and place the bottle and dust removal talisman on it. The young woman's actions were very natural and carefree without the restraints of etiquette. More importantly, even though Su Zimo was dirty right now, she did not disdain him at all. Initially, Su Zimo was hesitant about whether he should stay in Snow Wind Ridge. Given his capabilities, Xuanyang would definitely not be able to stop him if he wanted to leave. It was only at this moment that he decided to stay in Snow Wind Ridge for the time being and familiarize himself with the Dragon Abyss Star before making further plans. At that thought, Su Zimo suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. He had once thought that ascending to the upper world would definitely be extremely dangerous and every single step would be filled with danger. It would be inevitable for him to fight in all directions and be drenched in blood. He would have to clash against countless paragons. He would have to compete against all the experts of the upper world. However, he had never expected that he would become a farmer upon ascension to the upper world. Chapter 1793, Xia Qingying. Chapter 1793, Xia Qingying. Su Zimo looked at the bottle and dust removal talisman in his hands and smiled gently. He looked at the young woman and asked, "How may I address you, miss?" That question was a little abrupt. After all, to outsiders, the difference in status and cultivation realm between the two of them was immense. However, there was no hint of blame in the young woman's eyes, and she merely smiled. "Who do you think you are?" Right then, Commander Liang strode forward and glared at Su Zimo coldly, berating, "A lowlife like you is not qualified to ask about the name of the young mistress." Lowlife? Su Zimo raised his brow. This was the first time he had heard someone refer to him as a lowlife up till this point of his cultivation. Liang Qiu. The young woman frowned slightly and glanced sideways in displeasure. "I've told you many times that everyone ascended from the lower world. There's no distinction between our statuses. You've only ascended a couple dozen thousand years earlier than him. Why are you mocking him? Mistress, you are right. Liang Qiu lowered his head slightly with a terrible expression, but he did not dare to refute. The young woman looked at Su Zimo and smiled apologetically. My name is Xia Qingying. Liang Qiu is not a bad person by nature. He merely said it in a nasty manner. Please don't take offense. Su Zimo smiled and nodded. Liang Qiu glared at Su Zimo secretly and whispered to the young woman, Mistress, there's nothing much here. Let's leave. The young woman nodded slightly and turned to leave once more. All right, that's enough. Everyone, head back to look after your own spirit fields. There's nothing much to see here. When Duan Tianliang saw Xia Qingying and Liang Qiu leave, he straightened his back and ordered everyone arrogantly. Many people looked at Su Zimo with pitiable expressions before dispersing. Duan Tianliang walked towards Su Zimo. He was fat and not tall. When he arrived before Su Zimo, he even had to raise his head and look up. Su Zimo's expression was indifferent and his gaze was calm. Duan Tianliang sneered, Country bumpkin, don't worry. The mistress has orders for you to recuperate first, so I won't make things difficult for you. All right, you'll live there. Duan Tianliang pointed to a straw hut not far away. Su Zimo could not be bothered with that person. Arriving at the pit, he put away the bronze square tripod and turned towards the straw hut. Looking at Su Zimo's back view, Duan Tianliang spat and sneered, Bloody hell, what's a grade 1 black immortal getting cocky for? You'll be in for it in a few days. The straw hut was simple and crude with a bamboo bed, table, and a few bamboo stools. Su Zimo had just escaped from the black hole in the starry skies and spent countless years curled up in the bronze square tripod. To him, this straw hut was a paradise. After Su Zimo entered the hut, he tore apart the dust removal talisman and a mysterious power enveloped him. In the blink of an eye, the mud on his body vanished completely. He took out a new set of green robes from his storage bag and pondered as he wore it. Although he had already ascended to the upper world and arrived on the Dragon Abyss star, he still had many doubts. The greatest doubt was naturally which world this was. Xia Qingying had once said that everyone had ascended from the lower world. Was she referring to everyone in Snow Wind Ridge or the entire Dragon Abyss star? If it was the latter, that would be strange. Were there no native living beings of the upper world on such a massive star? Also, there was the matter of his cultivation. Was he only a grade 1 black immortal after ascending through the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation? In addition, he did not know the purpose of the 2 immortal herbs that he had to plant, the essence nourishing grass and the rainfrost flower. Right then, footsteps sounded from outside. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Could Duan Tianliang be so anxious to cause trouble for him so soon? Young man? Right then, the person had already arrived at the door and knocked gently, calling out. Su Zimo was slightly stunned. Come in. The person pushed the door open and entered. He had a dark face and an honest expression. It was one of the onlookers who had spoken up for Su Zimo a few times. Su Zimo had some impression of this person. The person was stunned when he saw Su Zimo, who was neatly dressed after removing the mud. Young man, to think that you're so young and refined, like a scholar, he said with a smile. Thereafter, as though he recalled something, the person asked with widened eyes, Young man, you're not injured? But earlier on, those were only minor injuries. I'm fine after consuming the elixirs of the mistress. Su Zimo waved the bottle in his hands. Actually, this was merely the powerful regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus True Body. However, Su Zimo had experienced being hunted by King Yunyu before and knew in his heart that the secret of the Green Lotus True Body must not be exposed after he ascended to the upper world. Otherwise, he would attract endless killing intent. Su Zimo changed the topic and asked with cupped fists, How may I address you, fellow Taoist? Why are you here? Heh. The person waved it off. There aren't so many rules in Snow Wind Ridge. You can just call me Old Yin. To put it nicely, I'm an immortal farmer. Actually, I'm just a farmer. Right? I'm not sure yet. What's the use of the essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flower that we're going to plant? Su Zimo followed up with Old Yan's topic. These two immortal herbs are used to refine an immortal pill called the essence condensation pill. Old Yan said, if you use normal breathing and expiration techniques to absorb heaven and earth essence qi, your cultivation will be too slow. By consuming this essence condensation pill, you can better condense essence qi and speed up your cultivation. I see. A look of realization flashed through Su Zimo's eyes. Back when experts of the upper world descended upon Tianhuang mainland and were all killed by Daiyu, she gave him many essence condensation pills. Those essence condensation pills were now in the hands of the martial Dao Prime body. At that thought, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. He was prepared to find a time to try and establish a connection with the martial Dao Prime body. Old Yin said, "Young man, you've just ascended. There are many things that are very different from the lower worlds and the upper world. Let me tell you beforehand lest you suffer." "Thank you very much." Su Zimo cupped his fists hurriedly in thanks. Right now, he was worried that no one would be able to clear the doubts in his heart. Old Yin said, cultivating in the upper world requires heaven and earth essence qi. Different cultivation techniques have different effects. The space of the upper world is extremely stable and the ground is even sturdier. It's definitely impossible to tear through space as casually as in the lower worlds. Su Zimo nodded. When he first descended, he had already sensed something amiss. Old Yin thought for a moment and continued, "Right. We Black Immortals can't release blood rebirth in the upper world. You have to be careful. Only the legendary Earth Immortal experts can regrow an arm, let alone blood rebirth." At that point, Su Zimo's gaze turned cold when he thought of the Dragon Phoenix true body that was destroyed by King Yunyu. Chapter 1794, Desolate Stars. Chapter 1794, Desolate Stars. Old Yin, did all the cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge ascend from the lower worlds? Su Zimo asked. Of course. Old Yin said, there aren't many native exalted immortals of the upper world on the entire Dragon Abyss star, let alone Snow Wind Ridge. Almost all of them are in Dragon Abyss City. Right? As though he recalled something, Old Yin said, it doesn't matter what we call each other. However, if you see anyone with a higher cultivation realm than you outside, you'll still have to address them as exalted immortals. Sigh, I've seen it with my own eyes. Someone was killed on the spot just because he called the other party fellow Taoist. At the mention of that, Old Yin shook his head gently and sighed. Pondering for a moment, Su Zimo frowned and asked, why is the Dragon Abyss star filled with only people who ascended? You've just ascended and don't know yet? At the mention of that, a look of melancholy flashed through Old Yan's eyes. The Dragon Abyss star is the most remote star beneath Green Cloud County, and the heaven and earth essence qi is thin. In the eyes of the native immortals, they don't take us who ascended from the lower worlds seriously at all. Anyone who passes the one of 9 heavenly tribulation will ascend to these remote stars. I heard that only those who pass the 2 of 9 heavenly tribulation, 3 of 9 heavenly tribulation, and 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation are qualified to cultivate elsewhere in Green Cloud County. What's the difference between the heavenly tribulations? Su Zimo asked again. There's a huge difference. Old Yin said, under normal circumstances, once one passes the one of 9 heavenly tribulation and ascends to the upper world, as long as they stay in the upper world for a period of time and adapt to the environment of the upper world, fusing with the surrounding heaven and earth essence qi, their cultivation realm will stabilize and they will become a grade 1 black immortal. Following that, those who pass through the 2 of 9 heavenly tribulation will become grade 2 black immortals once their cultivation realms stabilize. Those who can pass through the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation and ascend to the upper world will become grade 4 black immortals, the same level as the Mistress and Commander Liang. When he heard that, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat and he understood. Under normal circumstances, after he passed the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation and ascended to the upper world, he should be a grade 4 black immortal when he interacted with the heaven and earth essence qi in the surroundings. However, His ascension process was forcefully interrupted by King Yunyu. Thereafter, he hid in the bronze square tripod and was devoured by the black hole. However, there was no heaven and earth essence chi, air, spirit chi, or anything else in the black hole. Therefore, his cultivation realm was maintained at grade 1 black immortal. Now, he had already ascended to the upper world and descended on the Dragon Abyss star. According to Old Yin, as long as he stayed on the Dragon Abyss star for a period of time and interacted with the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi, his cultivation realm would rise rapidly and he would reach grade 4 black immortal. It was also because living beings who had passed the one of 9 heavenly tribulation would ascend to remote stars like the Dragon Abyss star that Xia Qingying and the others had the preconceived notion that Su Zimo had only passed the one of 9 heavenly tribulation. The upper world is vast and filled with heaven and earth essence chi everywhere. Why is the heaven and earth essence chi on the Dragon Abyss star so thin? Su Zimo frowned slightly. I don't know about that. Old Yin shook his head. Actually, we're just some of the abandoned people. Those high and mighty exalted immortals don't take us who ascended from the lower world seriously at all and left us here to fend for ourselves. Brother Su, follow me. Suddenly, Old Yin said and led the way out, looking up at the distant firmaments. Su Zimo followed his gaze. Brother Su, can you see that? Old Yin pointed to the end of the firmaments. There's a gigantic shadow over there. I heard that green cloud county is there. The heaven and earth essence chi there is 10 times richer than on the Dragon Abyss star. When Su Zimo left the black hole, he caught sight of the gigantic shadow up close. It covered the skies and was extremely vast and shocking. The wish of every cultivator that ascends to the Dragon Abyss star is to leave this place and head to the legendary Green Cloud County. Why don't you leave? Su Zimo asked. Old Yin smiled bitterly. There's a distant starry sky between the Dragon Abyss star and that place. Only legendary heaven immortal experts can cross the starry skies. Su Zimo was shocked. Did he have to cultivate to the heaven immortal realm to leave the Dragon Abyss star? Old Yin said, of course, I heard that there's a teleportation formation in Dragon Abyss City that can teleport people over as well. However, the conditions for teleportation are way too stringent. Most people on the Dragon Abyss star won't be able to achieve that even if they exhaust their entire lives. At the mention of that, Old Yan's eyes dimmed. Back in my lower world, I was also the notorious Hell Emperor. Everyone said that I was the reincarnation of Yama. Old Yin smiled bitterly. However, I still ended up in this state after my ascension to the upper world. Su Zimo was silent. As Old Yin had said, none of those who could ascend were nobodies. All of them were paragons and monster incarnates of the lower worlds. However, these people ascended and were abandoned on this remote star. The heaven and earth essence chi was thin and their cultivation speed was slow. Even their wills gradually dimmed and were no longer the same as before. Old Yin, how long has it been since you ascended? Su Zimo asked. Old Yin reminisced for a moment before saying sadly, more than 10,000 years. Even after more than 10,000 years, Old Yin was only at the grade 1 black immortal realm. The situation on the Dragon Abyss star was even worse than Su Zimo had imagined. Old Yin said, 100,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. I reckon that I won't have the chance to leave in this lifetime. After ascending to the upper world, Su Zimo could sense that his lifespan had not changed much and was still 100,000 years. Su Zimo said, in that case, there's really nothing good about the upper world. After ascending, your lifespan did not increase. Instead, you were abandoned on this desolate star. It's better to be invincible and carefree in the lower worlds. It's different. When he heard that, Old Yan's eyes lit up with a bright glint. He was invigorated, and his earlier depression was swept away. Brother Su, do you know that infants born in the upper world are innately fused with heaven and earth essence chi? They save a lot of effort in cultivating and start from the grade 1 black immortal realm. The foundation of an infant born in the upper world is much higher than the lower worlds. Their future accomplishments will far surpass mine. Let me tell you, The descendants of those exalted immortals will have to use countless universal treasures to assist, nourish, refine their flesh, tendons, and bones. There's even a superior-grade spirit-gathering technique that can create essence spirits for them. Old Yin smiled. To be honest, my son has just turned 2 months old. I intend to save up more essence condensation pills. Even if there aren't any universal treasures, I'll have to exchange a cultivation technique that can condense essence spirits and lay a good foundation for him. Although I have no hope of leaving Dragon Abyss Star in this lifetime, I hope that he can go out and take a look at Green Cloud County and roam the world. At the mention of that, Old Yin became excited. Su Zimo smiled as well. At that moment, the middle-aged man before him was not the Hell Emperor or Old Yin who dominated the lower world. He was only a father. Chapter 1795, Trouble. Chapter 1795, Trouble. Let's not talk about that anymore. Old Yin snapped out of his stupor and said with a smile, when I have time, I'll bring that son of mine over for you to take a look. He really looks like me, heh? Sure thing. Su Zimo replied with a smile as well. Old Yin said, let's talk about something serious. You've offended that fatty, and he'll definitely cause trouble for you in the future. You've got to be careful. However, don't worry. The people of Snow Wind Ridge can't kill one another casually. At most, he'll just look for trouble with you and scold you. Just endure it. There's no need to stoop to his level. Su Zimo smiled without replying. Old Yin took out 2 jade scrolls from his storage bag and placed them on his glabella for a moment before handing them to Su Zimo. These are 2 lesser immortal arts of the upper world, Cloud Rain Technique and Flora Art. Put them away and comprehend them as soon as possible so that you can prepare in advance. Su Zimo received the 2 jade scrolls and scanned them with his spirit consciousness. There were indeed 2 cultivation techniques in the jade scroll. Given Su Zimo's experience, he already had a rough idea of them after a single glance. The Cloud Rain technique was actually a technique to create clouds and rain to irrigate the spirit field. The Flora art was even simpler. It was used to remove the weeds in the spirit field before using the essence of the weeds to nourish the 2 immortal herbs, speeding up their ripening. Although the Cloud Rain technique and Flora art are immortal arts of the upper world, they have many similarities with dermic arts of the lower worlds. Old Yin said, it's not difficult for us to cultivate these 2 immortal arts. Back then, I only cultivated for a year, and I managed to cultivate both immortal arts. Su Zimo nodded. The 2 immortal arts were extremely superficial, and he had already comprehended most of them during their short conversation. Actually, there's nothing much about farming 13 mu of spirit fields. Old Yin said, to put it simply, the process of sowing seeds is nothing more than watering, weeding, and taking care of them while waiting for them to ripen. How long does it take for 2 immortal herbs to ripen? Su Zimo asked. Old Yin let out a long breath. 100 years. What? Su Zimo was shocked. The 2 immortal herbs took 100 years to ripen. In other words, the spirit herbs required to condense elixirs also required 100 years of waiting. In the upper world, the cultivation time required was easily 1,000 years. It was common for some exalted immortals to be in seclusion for tens of thousands of years. Old Yin smiled bitterly. There's nothing we can do about it. The heaven and earth essence chi in the Dragon Abyss Star is thin and the immortal herbs grow at an extremely slow speed. I heard that under the jurisdiction of Green Cloud County, immortal herbs will ripen much faster in places with rich heaven and earth essence chi. Su Zimo was silent. It was no wonder why Old Yin was still at Grade 1 Black Immortal after ascending for 10,000 years. Most of the others were also at Grade 1 or 2. The heaven and earth essence chi of the Dragon Abyss Star was rare to begin with. Coupled with the fact that immortal herbs grew slowly and cultivation resources were scarce, there was naturally no way for one's cultivation speed to increase. Old Yin thought for a moment and continued, of course, we have to be careful when the immortal herbs are about to ripen. Don't let any random living beings or bandits steal it away. Random living beings? Su Zimo frowned slightly. Old Yin said, most of the people on the Dragon Abyss Star are humans. Of course, there are also a few other living beings that ascended. However, they are few and insignificant. There's no need to worry. There will be guards patrolling Snow Wind Ridge day and night. If any intruders are discovered, all you have to do is shout. Given the strength of Snow Wind Ridge, we can easily chase away some weak bandits. I've been out for a while. I've got to go back and look after my spirit field. Old Yin pointed to the east. My place isn't far from yours. If you have any doubts, look for me there. All right. Su Zimo nodded. After sending Old Yin off, Su Zimo turned and entered the room. He sat cross-legged on the bamboo bed with many questions in his mind. Pondering for a moment, he took out the bronze square tripod from his storage bag and observed it carefully. Now that he arrived at Snow Wind Ridge of the Dragon Abyss Star, he was settled down temporarily. He could not help but recall his experience in the black hole. The bronze square tripod had already recovered one of its walls after devouring the weapon of an expert. The inner wall of the tripod was etched with the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. On the outer wall, there was a lifelike divine dragon etched on it. It was green all over and coiled with its head raised, bearing its sharp fangs and claws. However, the divine dragon's eyes were closed and it looked less lively. He did not know how he escaped from the black hole. However, before he escaped, he seemed to have heard a loud and clear dragon roar. Could it be related to the divine dragon on the bronze square tripod? Su Zimo murmured softly. After pondering for a long time, he still found nothing. Su Zimo tried to summon the martial Tao prime body in his heart. He could vaguely sense the existence of the martial Tao prime body. However, the latter did not reply. There was a high chance that he was refining the Dragon Phoenix true body and had no time to be distracted. Putting this matter aside for the time being, Su Zimo put away the bronze square tripod and began to cultivate. He had to sense the heaven and earth essence chi in the surroundings as soon as possible and recover his cultivation realm. Once his cultivation realm was restored to that of a grade 4 black immortal, he would at least be able to protect himself in Snow Wind Ridge. Before long, night descended. In the spirit field, the sound of frogs and crickets chirping could be heard from time to time, making the long night seem even quieter. In the morning, Su Zimo let out a long breath and opened his eyes. Two resplendent divine lights burst forth from his eyes before vanishing rapidly. Level 2 Black Essence Realm. In just a single night, Su Zimo's cultivation had already recovered to a grade 2 Black Immortal. At this speed, it would not take long for him to recover to a grade 4 Black Immortal. Taking a deep breath of air, Su Zimo closed his eyes and continued absorbing and refining the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi. Right then, his ears twitched and he heard footsteps. The footsteps were rather heavy and headed straight for his straw hut. It was clearly different from Old Yan's footsteps yesterday. Su Zimo frowned. Bang! There was a loud bang. The door was kicked open violently, and a round-faced fatty stood at the entrance, almost blocking the entire room. He glanced askance at Su Zimo with an unfriendly expression. It was Duan Tianliang. Just after a single night, Duan Tianliang could not hold it in any longer. Hey, country bumpkin. Duan Tianliang raised his head slightly and hollered, Don't pretend to be dead there. Get up and hurry and plant the immortal herbs in the 13 mu of spirit fields. These are seeds of the 2 immortal herbs. Hurry and go. Don't dawdle. As he said that, Duan Tianliang threw a storage bag on the ground. Su Zimo opened his eyes slowly and looked at Duan Tianliang quietly. His eyes were deep and bright, but he did not say anything. For some reason, Duan Tianliang felt chills run down his spine when he was stared at by those eyes. It was as though he was not facing someone who had just ascended, but an extremely terrifying and powerful existence. A terrifying beast that devoured humans. Duan Tianliang closed his eyes and shook his head, as though he wanted to purge the illusion. Actually, this was not Duan Tianliang's imagination. Right now, Su Zimo's essence spirit was not only the Green Lotus essence spirit, but also the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit. It was indeed a terrifying taboo living being. Even if it was powerful living beings of other races, they would feel their hearts skip a beat against Su Zimo's gaze, let alone Duan Tianliang. Chapter 1796, Thousand-Ton Ball. Chapter 1796, Thousand-Ton Ball. Suppressing the uneasiness in his heart, Duan Tianliang glared back and grit his teeth. Fuck, what are you looking at? I told you to go farm. Didn't you hear me? Su Zimo's expression was calm as he said indifferently, what if I don't want to go? He intended to stay in Snow Wind Ridge for the time being, but he did not intend to farm personally. At the very least, for now, he only wanted to recover his cultivation as soon as possible. You have to go even if you don't want to. Duan Tianliang's expression darkened as he said coldly, I call the shots in Snow Wind Ridge. It's not up to you. Su Zimo did not reply, and his spirit consciousness moved. The door creaked and closed slowly. For some reason, Duan Tianliang felt a chill run down his spine. What are you doing? Duan Tianliang hollered. Su Zimo remained silent. The atmosphere in the straw hut turned strange and repressive. Stop trying to play tricks in front of me. Since you refuse to be disciplined, I'll teach you a lesson. Finally, Duan Tianliang could not hold it in any longer. He strode forward and extended his palm, slapping Su Zimo's face. Swoosh! The moment Duan Tianliang moved, he felt his vision blur and a green shadow flashed. Before he could react, he felt his rotund body float into the air. The next moment, he felt an extremely painful suffocation. Unknowingly, Su Zimo had leaped down from the bed and arrived before him in a flash. Grabbing him by the throat, Su Zimo lifted him from the ground. Duan Tianliang's eyes widened, and his face flushed red with panic. Against Su Zimo's palm, he could not exert any strength at all. He felt as though his throat was not grabbed by a hand, but a hard and cold iron hoop. As long as the iron hoop tightened slightly, his throat would be snapped. How could this be? Duan Tianliang was flustered. How could this grade 1 black immortal who had just ascended possess such power? No, he was not a grade 1 black immortal. Instinctively, Duan Tianliang scanned Su Zimo with his spirit consciousness. Grade 2 black immortal. This time round, Duan Tianliang was shocked. Due to the thin heaven and earth essence chi and lack of cultivation resources on the Dragon Abyss star, it was extremely difficult to raise a cultivation realm. In Snow Wind Ridge, news of anyone who could break through and advance would spread through the entire place. Su Zimo had just ascended, and it had only been a single night. Duan Tianliang had not expected that Su Zimo would advance to the level 2 black essence realm. He only realized it when he fell into Su Zimo's hands with his life on the line. He could not help but feel shocked. He no longer had the mood to think about how Su Zimo's cultivation increased by a realm overnight. Right now, the only thing on his mind was how to survive. What are you trying to do? Duan Tianliang stomped his feet and said with difficulty, I want to cultivate in peace for a period of time. Don't disturb me. Su Zimo said indifferently, as for the spirit field outside, help me farm it. How about that? Sure, I'll do it. Duan Tianliang agreed without hesitation. If the person before him were to crush his throat, his body would be completely crippled. Even if his essence spirit escaped, he would not have the chance to reconstruct his body. All right. Su Zimo released his grip and let Duan Tianliang down. Duan Tianliang staggered a few steps back and leaned against the closed door, clutching his chest and panting heavily. Although he seemed like he was recovering, he was actually glancing at Su Zimo from the corner of his eye. As a steward of Snow Wind Ridge and a grade 2 black immortal, how could he be controlled by others so easily? Furthermore, this was someone who had just ascended. I was merely careless when I was caught earlier on. To think that this lad would have the strength of a grade 2 black immortal. Duan Tianliang lowered his head slightly with a dark expression as he thought to himself, if I take out my black grade dermic treasure, I'll definitely be able to suppress that lad. This lad has just ascended and is only using scrap metal from the lower world. There's no way he has a black grade dermic treasure. If I can't suppress that lad today, won't he be riding on my head in the future? Where will I put my face? How am I going to survive in Snow Wind Ridge in the future? At that thought, Duan Tianliang made up his mind. As Duan Tianliang lowered his head and pondered, Su Zimo said nothing the entire time and merely looked at him with a fake smile. Finally, Duan Tianliang raised his head and shouted with widened eyes, "Lad, I'll let you witness the capabilities of the Immortals today." Duan Tianliang slapped his storage bag with his chubby palm and withdrew a black brick the size of a face. He channeled his essence Qi, and a pattern shone on the black brick. His aura surged and immortal light coiled around him, looking extraordinary. "Go." Duan Tianliang threw the black brick into the air and pointed it at Su Zimo. The black brick smashed down fiercely on Su Zimo's shoulder. No matter the status of the cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge, they could not kill one another casually. Duan Tianliang did not dare to kill either. Furthermore, he merely wanted to take Su Zimo down a notch. Su Zimo was still motionless as he looked at the descending black brick calmly. "This is the 1,000-ton brick. Your body is strong, but no matter how strong it is, can it match my black ray dermic treasure?" When Duan Tianliang saw that Su Zimo seemed to be scared out of his wits, he could not help but laugh smugly. "Country bumpkin, eat my brick?" When he saw the scene immediately after, the smile on his face froze instantly. Suddenly, Su Zimo reached out and removed the aggressive 1,000-ton brick that was shrouded by black light. He held it in his palm and examined it left and right. Duan Tianliang was stunned, and his smile vanished. Immediately after, Duan Tianliang was scared out of his wits when he saw another scene. "That's all there is to your immortal methods." Su Zimo held the 1,000-ton brick and weighed it in his hands. Casually, he gripped both sides of the 1,000-ton brick and started rubbing. In the blink of an eye, the square 1,000-ton brick turned into a black iron ball right in front of Duan Tianliang. Duan Tianliang's eyeballs nearly popped out. In the upper world, Black Immortals, Earth Immortals, and Heaven Immortals corresponded to 3 different grades of dermic treasures: Black, Earth, and Heaven. Each level corresponded to a different quality. Similar to the lower worlds, it was divided into inferior, middle, superior, supreme, perfect, and connate grades. Although Duan Tianliang's 1,000-ton brick was only at inferior black grade, it took him 20,000 years of accumulation to exchange for it. Many stewards of Snow Wind Ridge did not even have inferior black grade dermic treasures. Duan Tianliang treated that 1,000-ton brick like a treasure and would not reveal it easily. When he exchanged it for it, many people were envious. But now, the 1,000-ton brick was gone, leaving only a pitch-black 1,000-ton ball. Chapter 1797, Boss Su. Chapter 1797, Boss Su. Even without using any blood chi, Su Zimo's current Green Lotus True Body was much stronger than any inferior black-grade dermic treasure. In his hands, that inferior black-grade dermic treasure was like a soft mud that could be kneaded casually. Su Zimo weighed the black iron ball in his hands and looked at Duan Tianliang playfully with a faint smile on his face. Su Zimo was smiling. However, Duan Tianliang was about to cry. He had not expected that a country bumpkin who had just ascended and knew nothing would be such a ruthless character. If that person wanted to kill him, it would be as simple as killing a chick. Even grade 3 or 4 Black Immortals might not possess the strength to accomplish what he had just done. "Boss Su, I was wrong." With a thud, Duan Tianliang knelt on the ground and kowtowed. No matter which world one was in, the path of cultivation was heaven-defying and filled with danger. The reason why he was able to cultivate to this point and ascend to the upper world was because he was adaptable to the situation. To him, dignity was merely a worldly possession. Survival was the most important thing. In his life, he knelt to countless people and was trampled by countless people. However, in the end, he was the one who laughed till the end and ascended to the upper world. "Boss Su, I was blind to not know your methods." Duan Tianliang slapped himself fiercely. "I truly don't know my place. To think that I would dare to show off my skills in front of someone like you. You are the resplendent stars in the night sky and the bright full moon. Compared to you, my methods are merely like the light of a firefly. Duan Tianliang blurted out those flattering words without thinking, as though he had said them countless times. Su Zimo was unmoved with an indifferent expression. Anyone who could ascend to the upper world would be a peerless paragon of the lower world, even if they had only passed through the one of 9 heavenly tribulation. How could they submit so easily? Su Zimo's gaze was deep as he said coldly, "You had better not play any tricks. If I find out, I'll need you like it." He pointed to the black iron ball in his hands. Duan Tianliang shuddered in fear. Initially, he had other thoughts and was prepared to escape from this place first before making further plans. But now, Duan Tianliang was truly afraid when he heard that. "Boss Su, you must be joking. How is that possible?" Duan Tianliang said hurriedly, "From now on, I'll follow your lead. If you want me to head east, I'll definitely not head west." "Sure." Su Zimo nodded. "Help me farm the 13 mu of spirit fields outside." Duan Tianliang's expression froze. Ever since he broke through to the level 2 Black Essence realm and became a steward, he had never gone to farm personally. "Why? You're unwilling?" Su Zimo raised his brow. "Of course not." Duan Tianliang shuddered and blurted, "I'm more than willing. I should be the one to do something like farming. It's a supreme honor to be able to gain your trust, Boss Su." "All right, don't disturb me during this period of time if there's nothing important," Su Zimo said indifferently and threw the black iron ball in his hands to Duan Tianliang. Duan Tianliang received it with a pained expression. A perfectly fine inferior black-grade dermic treasure had now turned into a huge iron egg. "You may leave." Su Zimo waved his sleeves gently and returned to the bamboo bed. Duan Tianliang felt as though he was pardoned. As he retreated, he mumbled, "My ancestors have blessed me to be able to farm for Boss Su. It's truly a blessing of 3 lifetimes. I have no regrets in life." Before long, Duan Tianliang left Su Zimo's straw hut and closed the door gently. The flattery on his face vanished instantly and his gaze darkened. Duan Tianliang glared at the door with a dark expression. A moment later, Duan Tianliang closed his eyes and took a deep breath before turning to leave. He was still indignant. However, the situation was pressing, and he intended to endure it for the time being and look for another opportunity. Duan Tianliang arrived at the destroyed spirit field and grit his teeth. Bending down, he stuck out his butt and started planting. At that moment, it was already noon. Many medicinal farmers of Snow Wind Ridge had already woken up and headed to the spirit fields under their jurisdiction to check. Some of them conjured rain while others removed weeds. Isn't that Fatty Duan? Strange, that spirit field should be planted by the new arrival, Brother Su. Why is Fatty Duan planting it personally? All the medicinal farmers who saw that were amazed. News of this spread one after another. Before long, all the nearby medicinal farmers heard about it and came over to watch the show. "Steward Duan, why are you farming personally? This spirit field should belong to Brother Su?" Another steward of Snow Wind Ridge could not help but ask. Duan Tianliang looked at Su Zimo's straw hut with resentment. In front of Su Zimo, he was extremely obedient. However, in front of others, he did not want to admit it out of respect. Duan Tianliang coughed gently. "This new buddy is severely injured after all and can't move freely. Nobody knows how long it'll take for him to recover. We're all family in Snow Wind Ridge. As a steward of Snow Wind Ridge, it's only right for me to help him plant it in advance. Officially, the earlier we plant the 2 immortal herbs, the earlier they're ripen. It's a good thing for Snow Wind Ridge and all of us." Duan Tianliang's words were emotional and righteous. However, those words sounded a little strange coming from him. Did Fatty Duan take the wrong medicine? Did he have a stroke? To think that he would suddenly be so kind. Many medicinal farmers whispered, "Something isn't right." Right then, Old Yin rushed over. "I just returned from Brother Su's place yesterday. His injuries had already healed after he consumed the elixirs of the mistress. Fuck. Duan Tianliang cursed internally and wished that he could stuff the 1,000-ton ball in his storage bag into Old Yan's mouth. Brother Su has only recovered from his external injuries. However, his internal injuries will still require some time to recover. Duan Tianliang braced himself and explained. Old Duan. Another steward walked forward and said, "Let me take a look at that 1,000-ton brick of yours again. I've saved some essence condensation pills this time round, and I'm prepared to exchange for an inferior black ray dermic treasure as well." Get lost. At the mention of that, old Duan's expression darkened as he cursed. The steward was dumbfounded. Duan Tianliang looked at the crowd with a terrible expression and hollered, "Disperse, disperse. What are you guys looking at? Don't you have to take care of your own spirit fields?" Many medicinal farmers shook their heads and dispersed. The steward had a lost expression and did not know why he was snubbed. If it was any other time, Fatty Duan would have proudly taken out that treasure to show off in front of everyone. Su Zimo sat in the straw hut. The Green Lotus True Body's hearing was shocking, and he heard everything Duan Tianliang said in the spirit field clearly. However, he did not expose the latter. As long as Duan Tianliang did not play any tricks, Su Zimo did not care at all. Right now, the most important thing for him was to recover his cultivation as soon as possible. Chapter 1798, Immortals. Chapter 1798, Immortals. A large effort was required to plant 2 types of immortal herbs in 13 mu of spirit fields. Duan Tianliang worked for a long time before planting 1,000 immortal herb seeds in the 13 mu of spirit fields. He was already drenched in sweat. Night descended. By now, the other medicinal farmers had already gone back to rest. Duan Tianliang had not consumed so much energy in a long time, and his body ached. Coupled with the mental blow he received from Su Zimo, he felt exhausted both physically and mentally. He sat down on the spirit field and looked at the straw hut in the distance with a bitter expression, spitting fiercely. "Damn it, one day, I'll trample you beneath my feet." Duan Tianliang cursed softly and laid down without caring about the mud on the ground. Looking at the stars that filled the skies, Duan Tianliang felt a sense of fatigue. His eyelids grew heavy, and he fell asleep in the spirit field. Su Zimo cultivated in the straw hut and comprehended the Prajna Nirvana Sutra on the bronze square tripod continuously, absorbing the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi. The Prajna Nirvana Sutra was extremely profound. Even though it was incomplete, Su Zimo could not comprehend it completely given his current attainments in Buddhism. He merely understood that this secret skill was more inclined towards the cultivation of the essence spirit. That was also the reason why the power condensed by the secret skill could neutralize yin and yang and fuse the dragon phoenix and green lotus essence spirits. Strange. Su Zimo lamented internally. The Prajna Nirvana Sutra is clearly a secret classic of the Buddhist monasteries. Why is it etched in this bronze square tripod? Could the owner of this bronze tripod have been an expert of the Buddhist monasteries? What about the divine dragon etched on the outer wall of the bronze square tripod? Those doubts flashed through Su Zimo's mind, but he did not think too much about them. He merely tried his best to absorb heaven and earth essence chi and recover his cultivation. Heaven and earth essence chi was invisible like air. However, if the top experts of the upper world descended above the Dragon Abyss star, they would definitely be able to sense that the heaven and earth essence chi around the Dragon Abyss star was gathering towards an inconspicuous straw hut in Snow Wind Ridge. The straw hut was like a gigantic vortex that spun continuously, devouring and absorbing the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi like a whale devouring a cow. At the end of the distant firmaments, the essence chi on the gigantic shadow in the starry skies seemed to be gathering towards the Dragon Abyss star. Naturally, black immortals could not sense such a change. However, if anyone could enter Su Zimo's room right now, they would definitely be shocked. In the straw hut, Su Zimo's figure had long vanished, and in his place was a jade green lotus that swayed gently. The lotus leaves were crystalline like jade. The pink lotus blossomed and immortal dew condensed on the 81 lotus petals. A bedazzling glow spewed out from the lotus platform. During the process, Su Zimo had a mysterious feeling. It was as though he had transformed into a creation green lotus and was absorbing heaven and earth essence chi wildly. At that moment, his spirit consciousness seemed to have transformed into millions of roots that extended in all directions. In fact, he could clearly sense the immortal herb seeds that had just been planted in the surrounding spirit fields. Sensing his spirit consciousness, the immortal herb seeds seemed to have a mind of their own and emitted a sense of joy and submission. It was an extremely mysterious feeling. Su Zimo was immersed in it, and unknowingly, the night passed by in the blink of an eye. The skies had just lit up. Duan Tianliang stretched and sat up, looking drowsy. Because he had just woken up, he looked a little lost. After meditating for a while, he gradually returned to his senses. Damn it, I actually slept on the spirit fields. Duan Tianliang cursed and patted his butt, prepared to get up. Suddenly, Duan Tianliang's gaze froze. In his vision, green sprouts grew neatly on the spirit field beneath him. Did I sleep too much? I'm even hallucinating. Duan Tianliang mumbled and shook his head vigorously, rubbing his eyes before opening them. His pupils gradually constricted. He turned around hurriedly and looked around. Without exception, sprouts grew one after another on the spirit fields around him, filled with vitality. This, Duan Tianliang was stunned. He had just planted the immortal herb seeds in the spirit field beneath him. In just a single night, all the seeds had sprouted and broken out of the ground. Duan Tianliang had stayed in Snow Wind Ridge for more than 10,000 years and had started off as a medicinal farmer. He was extremely familiar with the pattern of the immortal herbs ripening. The heaven and earth essence chi on the Dragon Abyss star was thin. The two immortal herbs grew slowly, and it would take an entire 100 years for them to mature completely. It would take close to a year for the essence-nourishing grass and rainfrost flower to sprout and break out of the ground. However, both immortal herbs had sprouted overnight. Bloody hell! If Duan Tianliang had not planted the spirit field personally, he would not have believed that what he saw was real. What's going on? Duan Tianliang frowned in deep thought and thought to himself, could it be that I'm the reincarnation of some exalted immortal and have already begun to gather fortune? A casual act from me managed to create such immortal phenomenons? He was puzzled. A long time later, Duan Tianliang snapped out of his stupor and was pleasantly surprised to discover that his cultivation realm had advanced as well. Although he had yet to advance to the level 3 Black Essence realm, a single night was equivalent to 100 days of cultivation. Duan Tianliang's eyes shone with excitement. At this cultivation speed, I'll be able to break through to the level 3 Black Essence realm before long. Duan Tianliang glared at the straw hut in the distance and grit his teeth. Su Zimo, I'm going to teach you a lesson when the time comes. Boss Su? Bullshit. Before long, the skies lit up. Many medicinal farmers passed by this place, and their jaws nearly dropped to the ground when they noticed the scene in the spirit fields. That's not right. Fatty Duan just planted this spirit field yesterday. I saw it with my own eyes. Fatty Duan, what's going on? How did the immortal herbs in your spirit field grow so quickly? Holy fuck, this is an immortal phenomenon. Many medicinal farmers were shocked. Duan Tianliang stood on the spirit field with his head raised and chest puffed, looking into the distance with an unfathomable expression as he said indifferently, it's just some small tricks. There's no need to make a fuss. Steward Duan, what's going on? Another Snow Wind Ridge steward could not help but ask. Fatty Duan, is this some illusion technique? Another person shouted. Duan Tianliang was displeased and flicked his sleeves. These immortal herb seeds were planted by me personally. They naturally contain great opportunities and immense fortune. It's not something that you mere commoners can understand. Everyone was dumbfounded. Sigh. Duan Tianliang sighed deeply. I haven't farmed personally for a long time, and my technique is a little rusty. That's why these immortal herbs are growing so slowly. Everyone was stunned by his remark. Everyone felt that Xuanyang's words were utterly ridiculous. However, the scene before them was indeed real and could not be faked. Chapter 1799, Subdued. Chapter 1799, Subdued. After a commotion, everyone gradually dispersed. Xuanyang was once again in the limelight among the many medicinal farmers and stewards. He could not help but blush and gloat internally. However, he calmed down quickly. That was because he knew that although he was the one who planted the immortal herb seeds, the fact that they grew overnight should have nothing to do with him. It was as though the essence Qi gathered in the 13 mu of spirit fields had suddenly turned richer overnight, allowing the two immortal herbs to grow rapidly. Strange? Xuanyang rubbed his chin in confusion. There was no way he could link it to Suzimo. Even Earth Immortals and Heaven Immortals could not do such a thing, let alone someone who had just ascended from the lower world. Xuanyang decided to continue guarding here to check things out. At the same time, Suzimo sensed what was happening outside and gradually understood. The creation green lotus was an utmost treasure that stole the creation of heaven and earth. His green lotus true body was already at an extremely high level after advancing to grade 9, and it was nothing much for him to absorb heaven and earth essence Qi. If Suzimo wanted to, he could absorb and refine the life force essence of all the immortal herbs within 5 kilometers. The creation green lotus was the supreme of plants. Of course, with that, all the immortal herbs within 5 kilometers would wither. It was daytime, and there were many medicinal farmers coming and going. Out of caution, Suzimo did not cultivate and absorb heaven and earth essence Qi. Although heaven and earth essence Qi was invisible, once he cultivated, the essence Qi in the surrounding 13 mu of spirit fields would increase exponentially. It would be much richer than outside and would be easily sensed by others. This matter concerned the creation green lotus and must not be casually exposed. The fewer people who knew, the better. Of course, Suzimo was not idle either. Instead, he continued comprehending the contents of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. There were not many Sanskrit words etched on the walls of the tripod. However, every single word seemed to contain a mysterious truth. Before long, night descended. The surrounding medicinal farmers had already dispersed. Xuanyang was the only one lingering around the spirit field. For the entire day, Xuanyang had been staring at the spirit field. In the end, he could not gain anything, nor did he find anything unusual. He could not help but feel disappointed. However, after thinking about it, he was still indignant and moved a bamboo chair to sit in the spirit field. When Suzimo sensed this in the straw hut, he pondered for a moment and decided to start cultivating, absorbing heaven and earth essence Qi. It was impossible to hide this from everyone. Furthermore, from the looks of it, Xuanyang was clearly prepared to guard this spirit field at all times. It was impossible for Suzimo to not cultivate just because Xuanyang was guarding here. He could control Emir Xuanyang. Xuanyang leaned against the bamboo chair. Initially, he was a little energetic. However, he looked up at the skies and listened to the sounds of frogs and crickets. Gradually, his gaze turned blurry and he fell asleep. Xuanyang had been thinking about this matter the entire time. Even if he fell asleep, he would not feel at ease. Suddenly, Xuanyang jolted awake. It was already late at night. Xuanyang suddenly felt that something was amiss. The heaven and earth essence Qi around him turned extremely rich. Xuanyang's eyes widened, and he was invigorated instantly. He could not believe it and thought that it was his imagination. He even ran far away from the radius of the surrounding 13 mu of spirit fields. The heaven and earth essence Qi elsewhere was still extremely thin. The essence Qi was only shockingly rich in the area of these 13 mu of spirit fields. Xuanyang looked at the two immortal herbs in the spirit fields. In just a few hours, the sprouts of the two immortal herbs seemed to have grown taller. How could this be? Duan Tianyang's eyes flickered with a bewildered expression. After pondering for a moment, he raised his head and looked at the ordinary straw hut in the middle of the spirit fields. Could it be? He thought of a possibility. It was truly a ridiculous assumption. He had lived in Snow Wind Ridge for 10,000 years. Such a strange situation had never happened before. However, it only happened after that person ascended. In other words, there was a high chance that this matter was related to that person. This is a huge matter. Duan Tianyang shifted his gaze and was prepared to report this matter to the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge through the night. He had just turned around when he nearly bumped into someone. Duan Tianyang took 2 steps back instinctively and was about to curse. However, when he saw that person, he could not help but be scared out of his wits. He swallowed the curse words that he was about to say. "BB Boss Su, why are you out so late at night without a single peep of sound? You scared me." Duan Tianyang's voice was trembling. "Cultivating here will only benefit you," Su Zimo said slowly. Those were not lies. Cultivating in such an environment with rich essence qi would make every day equivalent to 100 days. However, Su Zimo changed the topic. "There are some things that you should keep to yourself and not tell anyone." Definitely. Duan Tianyang said hurriedly, "Boss Su, don't worry. My lips are the tightest." Actually, Duan Tianyang was already planning to report this matter the moment he left this place alive. Su Zimo did not say much. He looked at Duan Tianyang deeply before turning to walk towards the straw hut. Duan Tianyang sneered and was about to leave. For some unknown reason, his heart skipped a beat and he released his spirit consciousness to circle around Su Zimo. Pissed, Duan Tianyang could not help but gasp when he checked. Level 3 Black Essence Realm. At that moment, Duan Tianyang's pupils constricted and his hairs stood on end. A day ago, this person was only a Grade 2 Black Immortal. In just a day, that person was already a Grade 3 Black Immortal. What sort of cultivation speed was that? Could this person be the reincarnation of an exalted immortal? Duan Tianyang was shocked and fearful. Initially, he truly intended to report this matter. But now, he could not help but shudder when he recalled the deep gaze Su Zimo gave him before leaving. No. Duan Tianyang was secretly alarmed. My every move has long been watched by this person. If I leave now, I'll probably die here. At that thought, Duan Tianyang let out a long breath and returned to the spirit field obediently. No matter what, such a cultivation environment was indeed rare, and this matter was a combination of fortune and misfortune. With that thought, Duan Tianyang started cultivating. In just a single night, his cultivation had advanced significantly. The immortal herbs in the spirit field grew rapidly and news of this spread quickly among the medicinal farmers of Snow Wind Ridge, causing everyone to click their tongues in wonder. However, it was only 13 mu of spirit fields and did not attract much attention from Snow Wind Ridge. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. Duan Tianyang watched as the immortal herbs in the spirit field grew faster and faster. The immortal herbs that were supposed to ripen in 100 years were about to ripen in a short year. This matter finally attracted the attention of some black immortals in Snow Wind Ridge. Chapter 1800, Exposed. Chapter 1800, Exposed. This day, Su Zimo was cultivating in the straw hut when his ears twitched and he heard a commotion outside. Many chaotic footsteps were speeding over. Here it comes. Su Zimo opened his eyes slowly. Rising, he pushed the door open and walked out. Duan Tianyang was running over, panting with a nervous expression. By the time he arrived before Su Zimo, he was already drenched in sweat. Boss Su, bad news. The mistress knows about this and is rushing over. Duan Tianyang panted and said. Su Zimo glanced at Duan Tianyang. Duan Tianyang shuddered and waved it off hurriedly. Boss Su, it wasn't me who leaked the news. The immortal herbs in these spirit fields had grown so quickly and finely that it was only time before the mistress knew about it. Right then, a group of figures appeared in the distance. Their leader was none other than the young mistress of Snow Wind Ridge, Xia Qingying. Commander Liang Qiu was still following closely behind Xia Qingying. He had a dark expression and sneered at Su Zimo. Many medicinal farmers surrounded Xia Qingying, and Old Yin was among them, looking at Su Zimo with worried eyes. Xia Qingying had not changed much after a year. She looked at the essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower that were about to ripen in the spirit fields, and her eyes lit up. She had been here personally a year ago and witnessed with her own eyes that the immortal herbs in the spirit field had been destroyed. However, in just a year, the immortal herbs in the spirit fields had already grown so well. Initially, when Xia Qingying heard the rumors, she merely smiled indifferently and ignored them, thinking that the medicinal farmers were spouting nonsense. However, during this period of time, the news became more and more ferocious. Even the guards of Snow Wind Ridge were discussing it and finally attracted her attention. What's going on? Xia Qingying's gaze paused on Su Zimo for a moment before landing on Duan Tianliang's face as she asked slowly. This? Duan Tianliang stammered and averted his gaze, wiping the sweat on his forehead continuously. It's me. Suddenly, Su Zimo said, I once obtained a jade bottle in the starry skies with a drop of spirit liquid in it. I didn't know what it was for. When I used the cloud rain technique, I accidentally shattered this jade bottle. That drop of spirit liquid fused into it and filled these spirit fields. The reason why these spirit fields grew so quickly must be because of that drop of spirit liquid. Su Zimo had expected that this matter would definitely not be hidden. Naturally, he had prepared that explanation a long time ago. Although there were some flaws in his words, it was indeed difficult for others to tell if he was telling the truth. Only Duan Tianliang knew that Su Zimo spent his days cultivating in the straw hut and had never released the cloud rain technique. He was the one who released the cloud rain technique in this spirit field and had never seen any spirit liquid before. However, Duan Tianliang lowered his head in silence and did not expose Su Zimo. What sort of spirit liquid is this powerful? Just a single drop has increased the growth speed of the essence-nourishing grass and rain frost flower by 100 times. That's right, immortal herbs that require 100 years to mature actually grew to such a state in a single year. The surrounding medicinal farmers whispered with shocked expressions. Liang Qiu sneered. What a load of nonsense. What spirit liquid can have such an effect to ripen 2 immortal herbs in a year? Just because you haven't seen it before doesn't mean that there isn't one. Su Zimo said indifferently and asked instead, if it wasn't for the spirit liquid, why don't you explain to me what's going on with these spirit fields? You. Liang Qiu grit his teeth and was speechless. The scene before him could indeed be considered as an immortal phenomenon, and he could not think of any other reason. Xia Qingying pondered for a moment and asked, how much more of this spirit liquid do you have? That's all. Su Zimo shrugged his shoulders gently. There's only 1 drop and it's already used. That was the only way to stop others from thinking about it. What a pity. If we have more spirit liquid, the immortal herbs will ripen 100 times faster, and we can obtain more essence condensation pills to cultivate. Many medicinal farmers shook their heads and sighed. Xia Qingying looked regretful as well. Liang Qiu raised his head slightly with an unfriendly expression. He glared into Su Zimo's eyes and sneered. How can there be such a coincidence in the world? I don't believe that you only have a single drop of spirit liquid. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. Su Zimo replied indifferently. Of course there's a way. Liang Qiu's gaze was ferocious as he suddenly strode forward and shouted, hand over your storage bag and let me check it. Don't. Xia Qingying frowned and stopped him hurriedly. However, Liang Qiu was extremely fast. Without any warning, he darted past Xia Qingying and arrived before Su Zimo, slapping his palm towards the latter's waist. The storage bag was indeed hung on Su Zimo's waist. However, it was clear that Liang Qiu was not aiming for his storage bag, and he did not hold back either. If that palm landed, Su Zimo's spine would be snapped before the storage bag was even retrieved. In the upper world, A broken spine was considered as a serious injury. If one did not recuperate well, there was a high chance that their lower body would be completely crippled. Liang Qiu's palm strike was sinister. Many medicinal farmers reacted and exclaimed, "It's over. Commander Liang is a grade 4 black immortal. If he attacks with his full strength, Su Zimo will most likely lose half his life. This young man has just ascended and is arrogant and immature. Why did he have to go against Commander Liang? Sigh, what a pity." Everyone felt pity and could not bear it. Piak. There was a crisp sound. Liang Qiu's figure froze instantly. Many medicinal farmers widened their eyes in disbelief. Liang Qiu's palm froze in midair before it even landed on Su Zimo's waist. Su Zimo had suddenly attacked and grabbed Liang Qiu's wrist. Nobody saw how Su Zimo attacked. However, Liang Qiu's wrist froze in midair. No matter how he channeled his strength, he could not descend or move at all. Many medicinal farmers were in an uproar. This young man can actually defend against Commander Liang's attack. That's not right. This young man has just ascended and is only a grade 1 black immortal. How is that possible? Instantly, a commotion broke out in the crowd. Right then, Xia Qingying looked at Su Zimo's face and her eyes lit up. Grade 4 black immortal. Some of the medicinal farmers reacted as well and were shocked when their spirit consciousnesses scanned Su Zimo. It's only been a year, and this little brother has already cultivated to grade 4 black immortal? What cultivation speed is that? Duan Tianliang was the only one in the crowd with a calm expression. Narrowing his gaze slightly with a hint of killing intent, Su Zimo glared at Liang Qiu and asked slowly, "What are you trying to do, Commander Liang?" Chapter 1801, Personal Guard. Chapter 1801, Personal Guard. At that moment, Liang Qiu's face was ashen as he grit his teeth. He felt as though his wrist was locked by an iron hoop and he could not move at all. He felt that his wrist was about to snap, let alone withdraw his palm and break free from Su Zimo's control. Liang Qiu almost fainted from the pain. However, he did not dare to say anything in front of everyone because of his dignity and could only endure it. "I just want your storage bag. Hurry and let go." Liang Qiu gritted his teeth and explained with a trembling voice. "Fellow Taoist Su, you should let go." Noticing Liang Qiu's expression, Xia Qingying could not help but say, "Liang Qiu's actions were way too reckless. I'll apologize on his behalf. After all, we're all from Snow Wind Ridge. Please show mercy." "All right." Su Zimo nodded. "Since the mistress has pleaded, I'll let him off." Su Zimo released his palm. Liang Qiu felt as though he was pardoned and retreated hurriedly. He staggered and almost fell as 2 guards supported him. His face was pale and his forehead was filled with sweat. His wrist was behind his back and most people could not see it. Only a few people could clearly see that Liang Qiu's wrist was trembling slightly. Liang Qiu's attack was extremely vicious. Although Su Zimo spared his life on account of Xia Qingying, he made him suffer quite a bit. Liang Qiu's wrist was already snapped. "Fellow Taoist Su, you hid your cultivation previously?" Xia Qingying asked. Liang Qiu could not help but say, "Mistress, this person's background is unknown, and he hid his cultivation intentionally. He must have ulterior motives. In my opinion, we should hurry and inform the protector to suppress this person and interrogate him." Liang Qiu had never suffered so much since he ascended and naturally hated Su Zimo to the core. The other guards looked at Su Zimo with hostility and caution as well. No matter what, Su Zimo had just ascended for a year and was still an outsider in their eyes. Xia Qingying did not reply and merely looked at Su Zimo, as though waiting for an explanation. "I didn't hide my cultivation," Su Zimo said. "Something unexpected happened when I was ascending, and that's why I descended on the Dragon Abyss Star." As though she understood something, Xia Qingying suddenly asked, "Which heavenly tribulation did you undergo before ascending?" 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation, Su Zimo said indifferently. "Ah, it's the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation." A series of exclamations sounded. Anyone who ascended to the Dragon Abyss Star underwent the one of 9 heavenly tribulation. It was said that those who passed the 2 of 9, 3 of 9, and 4 of 9 heavenly tribulations could only ascend to other regions of the Green Cloud County where the heaven and earth essence chi was many times richer than the Dragon Abyss Star. I see. Xia Qingying nodded. Thereafter, she shook her head gently. What a pity. Why? Su Zimo asked. Xia Qingying explained, I heard from my father that there are some immortal sect academies in other regions of Green Cloud County. There's a chance for those who have passed the 2 of 9, 3 of 9, and 4 of 9 heavenly tribulations to join these academies. There's none of that on the Dragon Abyss Star? Su Zimo asked again. Xia Qingying shook her head. The essence chi on Dragon Abyss Star is thin and resources are scarce. Everyone here are living beings abandoned by the exalted immortals after ascending from the lower worlds. Why would there be any immortal sect academies here? Old Yin had said something similar as well. Liang Qiu had just swallowed a medicinal pill secretly and felt the pain on his wrist lessen significantly. When he heard that, he could not help but sneer. Even if he joins those immortal sect academies, he'll only be a servant. So what if it's the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation? He can't get rid of his status as a lowlife either. Xia Qingying did not say anything, seemingly acknowledging Liang Qiu's words. Su Zimo frowned slightly. The environment of the upper world was even crueler than he had imagined. After crossing the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation, even if he joined immortal sect academies, he could only be a servant. Let's not talk about that anymore. It's too far away from us. Xia Qingying smiled and looked at Su Zimo. Since you're a grade 4 black immortal, it's not suitable for you to farm here. In Snow Wind Ridge, anyone who can cultivate to grade 2 black immortal is qualified to be a steward. Anyone who can cultivate to grade 3 can become a guard of Snow Wind Ridge. You're a grade 4 black immortal. Xia Qingying was undecided. Under normal circumstances, a grade 4 black immortal of the same cultivation realm as Liang Qiu would naturally have a chance of becoming the commander of the guards of Snow Wind Ridge. However, Su Zimo had only ascended for a year after all. If he were to become the commander of the guards, many people would be indignant, and there would be conflicts. At that thought, Xia Qingying said, Fellow Taoist Su, stay by my side from now on and be my personal guard for the time being. Her personal guard. This was a status much higher than ordinary guards. Although Liang Qiu was the commander of the guards in name, he was also Xia Qingying's personal guard. Mistress, no. Liang Qiu said hurriedly, although he's a grade 4 black immortal, his identity is unknown and his background is suspicious. We can't trust him so easily. It's nothing much. Don't doubt the people you use and don't use those you doubt. I trust him. Xia Qingying waved it off and smiled at Su Zimo. Fellow Taoist Su, what do you think? Actually, Xia Qingying's thoughts were simple. If Su Zimo truly had other motives, he would have continued hiding and would naturally not cause such a huge commotion to attract attention. Duan Tianliang nodded repeatedly at the side. In the crowd, Old Yin gestured for Su Zimo to agree as well. Xia Qingying smiled. In name, although you're my personal guard, I won't restrict your freedom. Furthermore, the treatment of a personal guard is similar to a guard commander and is much better than ordinary medicinal farmers. All right. Su Zimo nodded. Xia Qingying had once given him a spirit herb and a dust removal talisman. Su Zimo had always remembered that. Finally, Xia Qingying left reminders before turning to leave. Before long, Xia Qingying seemed to have thought of something and turned around, declaring, Right, I'll be escorting this year's ripe immortal herbs to Blood Sun Valley in 10 days. Fellow Taoist Su, come along and take a look. With that said, Xia Qingying left with everyone. Liang Qiu followed behind Xia Qingying and stole a glance at Su Zimo with a venomous look in his eyes. Blood Sun Valley? Su Zimo murmured softly in confusion. Duan Tianliang explained at the side, Blood Sun Valley is one of the 8 major factions on the Dragon Abyss Star and is also the largest faction in the vicinity. Every 10 years, we collect a batch of ripe immortal herbs in Snow Wind Ridge and head to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills. Oh. Su Zimo frowned and asked, "Since we have the immortal herbs, why don't we refine them ourselves?" "Boss Su, you must be joking," Duan Tianliang said. "The recipe for the essence condensation pill is in the hands of the immortals of the upper world. We're not qualified to learn it since we ascended from the lower worlds. Furthermore, I heard that whoever dares to leak the recipe for the essence condensation pill will definitely be hunted down by the immortals of the upper world." Chapter 1802, Departure. Chapter 1802, Departure. The immortals of the upper world refused to even impart an ordinary recipe like the essence condensation pill. This meant that most of the cultivation resources of the upper world were under the control of the immortal sect academies. It was almost impossible for living beings that ascended from the lower worlds to attain immortality and grow through their own efforts and talent. For people like Duan Tianliang and Old Yin, although they had only passed through the one of 9 heavenly tribulation, their talent and endowment were definitely top-notch. However, without sufficient cultivation resources, they could only live ignobly on this Dragon Abyss star. In fact, their cultivation would not increase much after thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. As for the descendants of some of the native exalted immortals, they had countless resources and treasures to temper their flesh and establish a foundation the moment they were born. Even if their talent was ordinary, their cultivation realm would increase steadily. Su Zimo thought for a moment and asked again, "Blood Sun Valley is one of the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star. They have people who can refine essence condensation pills?" "No." Duan Tianliang shook his head. The 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star were also established by many cultivators of the lower worlds who ascended. They're not qualified to refine immortal pills. In that case, where does Blood Sun Valley obtain their essence condensation pills? Su Zimo asked again. Duan Tianliang replied, "I heard they exchanged for them in the Dragon Abyss City. However, I don't know the exact details." The Dragon Abyss City was the largest city on the Dragon Abyss Star and was also the center of all the major factions. That was the only place where there were native immortals. Su Zimo nodded and returned to the straw hut. Actually, his cultivation realm had already recovered to the level 4 black essence realm more than half a year ago. That was a grade 4 black immortal. This could not be considered as an increase in cultivation. It was just a natural recovery of one's cultivation realm after coming to the upper world and interacting with heaven and earth essence chi. In the past half a year, his cultivation had not increased much. Unlike the lower worlds, even the weakest black immortal had a lifespan of 100,000 years. Even in regions with rich heaven and earth essence chi, the time units for living beings of the upper world to cultivate were usually 1,000 or 10,000 years. To the immortals of the upper world, a year felt like 2 hours. The path of cultivation was long, and one would not be able to reach the end of it without a resolute heart. 10 days later. In the morning, Su Zimo arrived at the entrance of Snow Wind Ridge. Xia Qingying, Liang Qiu, and a group of Snow Wind Ridge guards arrived one after another. Su Zimo took a glance. There were around 100 guards heading to Blood Sun Valley this time round, and every single one of them rode on tall horses. It was clear that they were superior class divine steeds. During this period of time, Su Zimo found out from Duan Tianliang that there were only 400 guards in total. For the escort of the 2 immortal herbs this time round, a quarter of the Snow Wind Ridge's guards were mobilized. It was clear how much they valued this trip. Anyone who could become a guard of Snow Wind Ridge were all grade 3 black immortals. Most of the guards had never seen Su Zimo before, and there was a hint of scrutiny and curiosity in their eyes towards this cultivator who had just been promoted to be the personal guard of the young mistress. Xia Qingying was extremely striking in the crowd. She wore a white cloak, and the white horse she rode was extremely divine without any impurities. There was even a single horn on its head. It was a single-horned divine beast. "Fellow Taoist Su, this way?" When Xia Qingying saw Su Zimo, she waved and greeted him. In Xia Qingying's hands was another divine steed. It was covered in scarlet fur that was smooth and shiny, as though it was stained with blood. It was also extraordinary. This is a scarlet blood horse, a rare divine steed. It has amazing legs. I'll give it to you from now on, she said with a smile. In the upper world, because the laws were more advanced and perfect, space and the ground became extremely firm and tough. On the Dragon Abyss star, black immortals could fly in the air, but they would not be more than 90 feet tall. Once it exceeded 90 feet, black immortals would endure immense pressure and fall from midair. Cultivators could fly much faster in the air. However, flying through the air took a huge toll on one's essence chi as well. Even a grade 9 black immortal could not fly far. Therefore, almost all the black immortals on the Dragon Abyss star would make use of various demon beasts and living beings as mounts. Legend has it that only earth immortals could break free from the gravity of the ground. Furthermore, the essence chi in an earth immortal's body was rich and could allow them to fly in the air for a long time. As for heaven immortals, they were powerful existences that could cross galaxies. In the past year, Su Zimo had tried it secretly. Although he was only a grade 4 black immortal, the height of the Green Lotus true body could definitely break through to 90 feet and reach more than 100 feet. Furthermore, the regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus true body were shocking. This regeneration ability was not only reflected in the healing of one's injuries, but also in the recovery of heaven and earth essence chi. In other words, Su Zimo could maintain a high speed flying on the Dragon Abyss star for a long time. Of course, there was no need for him to reveal such methods. He did not reject the scarlet blood horse that Xia Qingying gave him. The other guards revealed envious expressions. Liang Qiu, who was behind Xia Qingying, was expressionless. His wrist was snapped by Su Zimo and had yet to recover after 10 days. Naturally, Liang Qiu would remember this humiliation deeply and wait for an opportunity to settle things with Su Zimo. Go on. She patted the scarlet blood horse and gestured for it to head over. However, the scarlet blood horse looked at Su Zimo and did not dare to advance. Its hooves rose and fell continuously, seemingly uneasy. Even ordinary mounts of the upper world were sentient. The scarlet blood horse could vaguely sense an aura from Su Zimo that terrified it. Xia Qingying was slightly stunned. What's going on? This scarlet blood horse is quite smart. Is it shy of strangers? Nothing much. In a flash, Su Zimo had already mounted the scarlet blood horse before it could react. Let's go. Su Zimo patted the scarlet blood horse beneath him and smiled gently. The scarlet blood horse shuddered and did not dare to hesitate, leading the way with Su Zimo on its back. How many immortal herbs are we escorting this time round? Along the way, Su Zimo walked side by side with Xia Qingying and asked. Xia Qingying said, including the immortal herbs that matured in your 13 mu of spirit fields, there are more than 100,000 stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower each. Su Zimo nodded. Under normal circumstances, each mu of land could produce 100 essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower. 100,000 immortal herbs meant that 1,000 mu of land would be managed and planted by 100 medicinal farmers. Although the immortal herbs took 100 years to mature, Snow Wind Ridge chose to subdivide them. That way, once every 10 years, they could obtain around 100,000 immortal herbs and head to Blood Sun Valley for an exchange. How many essence condensation pills can I exchange for 100,000 immortal herbs? Su Zimo asked again. Xia Qingying gave a bitter smile. We can only exchange 1,000. So little. Su Zimo frowned. Chapter 1803, Four Great Bandits. Chapter 1803, Four Great Bandits. There were 100,000 stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower respectively, but they could only be exchanged for 1,000 essence condensation pills. The 1,000 essence condensation pills had to be distributed to the 100 Snow Wind Ridge guards for this trip. After giving the 10 stewards, Snow Wind Ridge had to keep a portion for themselves. There was not much that would eventually be left for the 100 medicinal farmers. Every medicinal farmer could only get 3 essence condensation pills. Even the 100 guards for this trip would only obtain 4 essence condensation pills each. That added up to 700 essence condensation pills. The remaining essence condensation pills had to be divided between the stewards and commanders. Even Snow Wind Ridge did not have much left. However, for the medicinal farmers and guards of Snow Wind Ridge, those 3 or 4 essence condensation pills were their only cultivation resources for the next 10 years. Su Zimo frowned. The cultivation environment here was even crueler and worse than he had imagined. Duan Tianliang, Old Yin, and the others had cultivated for thousands of years, but there was not much improvement even after 10,000 years. It was not only because the essence chi of the Dragon Abyss Star was thin. Even the most basic cultivation resources, such as the essence condensation pills, were so rare. Even for Su Zimo, who possessed the Green Lotus True Body, his cultivation realm would increase slowly without sufficient cultivation resources, let alone them. Do you know how many stalks of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower can refine an essence condensation pill? Su Zimo asked. I heard that for ordinary essence condensation pills, 1 stalk of essence nourishing grass and rain frost flower is enough, Xia Qingying said. A single immortal herb could refine an essence condensation pill. However, because the recipe for the essence condensation pill was under the control of the major sects and factions, cultivators who ascended from the lower worlds required 100 immortal herbs to exchange for a single essence condensation pill. Blood Sun Valley can't refine essence condensation pills either. Where did they get their immortal pills? Su Zimo thought for a moment and asked again. Xia Qingying said, there's only a single place with all the immortal pills on the Dragon Abyss Star, and that's Dragon Abyss City. That's where many native immortals of the upper world gather, and that's where Blood Sun Valley exchanged their essence condensation pills. Pausing for a moment, she continued, however, I heard that if you want to exchange for an essence condensation pill in Dragon Abyss City, you only need 10 essence nourishing grass and 10 rain frost flower each. Su Zimo frowned. In other words, Blood Sun Valley is using 10 immortal herbs to exchange for essence condensation pills in Dragon Abyss City, and we're using 100 immortal herbs to exchange for them. That's right. Xia Qingying nodded. Su Zimo sneered. Blood Sun Valley sure is evil. A single round trip is 10 times the difference. Su Zimo asked, why does Snow Wind Ridge choose to head to Blood Sun Valley instead of Dragon Abyss City to exchange for essence condensation pills? Fu. Liang Qiu was jealous when he saw Su Zimo and Xia Qingying chatting merrily at the side. When he heard that, he could not help but stifle a chuckle. How ignorant! Su Zimo ignored that person and did not even look at him. Xia Qingying's expression dimmed as she shook her head. There's nothing we can do about that. It's a long way from here to Dragon Abyss City, and a round trip will take about half a year. During this period of time, we have to pass through thousands of mountains, dense forests, and countless dangerous places. Most importantly, we have to face the looting and killing of the 4 great bandits of the Dragon Abyss Star. Sigh. At that point, Xia Qingying sighed. There are countless small factions like Snow Wind Ridge on the Dragon Abyss Star, but not many of them can reach Dragon Abyss City alive. Even if they enter Dragon Abyss City alive, there's no way they can return alive. The path to Dragon Abyss City is almost impossible. For great bandits, Su Zimo murmured softly. Xia Qingying said, there are many bandits on Dragon Abyss Star. Among them, the strongest and most powerful are the 4 great bandits. Actually, these bandits are also cultivators who ascended from the lower worlds. They rely on killing and looting to dominate the Dragon Abyss Star and commit all sorts of evil. Aren't the Immortals of Dragon Abyss City going to deal with them? Su Zimo frowned and asked. Xia Qingying shook her head. The Immortals of the upper world won't care about our lives. They'll just let us fend for ourselves and kill one another. Furthermore, the lairs of the 4 great bandits are not fixed and they roam all over the place all year round. There's no way to exterminate them. If we can't destroy them in one fell swoop, all the cultivators that attack them will be met with their bloody revenge the moment they rise again. Xia Qingying thought for a moment and continued, I heard from my father that previously, three major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star joined forces to destroy one of the bandit armies. Although the bandits suffered immense losses, their leader managed to escape. Not long after, he returned and took revenge on the three major factions. The three factions suffered immense losses. In the end, they were dragged down by the bandit army and annexed by other factions. That's how Blood Sun Valley rose. Su Zimo nodded. In that case, does that mean that the 8 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star possess a certain level of strength, such that they can head to Dragon Abyss City to exchange for essence condensation pills? That's right. Xia Qingying nodded. If we can head to Dragon Abyss City to exchange for essence condensation pills and return alive, theoretically, we'll be comparable to the 8 factions. As everyone from Snow Wind Ridge advanced, Su Zimo obtained quite a bit of information from Xia Qingying. Unknowingly, it was already noon. Right then, Su Zimo's ears twitched and a cold glint flashed through his eyes, as though he sensed something. Although they were both grade 4 black immortals, Xia Qingying and Liang Qiu felt nothing. Suddenly, Su Zimo asked, "How far are we from Blood Sun Valley?" "It's less than a day's journey," Xia Qingying said. "We'll set off in the morning and we'll arrive at Blood Sun Valley around evening. It's already noon now, and we just need half a day more. Should we stop and rest?" Xia Qingying thought that Su Zimo was a little tired and asked. Su Zimo shook his head gently and asked again, "Will there be any bandits along the way?" "Even if there are, they are rare," Xia Qingying said. "Furthermore, these bandits are nothing much. Even if there are dozens or 100 of them gathered together, without any powerful cultivators backing them, they would naturally disperse at the sight of our guards. Fellow Taoist Su, don't worry. This area is still under the jurisdiction of Blood Sun Valley. Typically, the 4 great bandits won't attack casually." Boom, boom, boom. Right then, a slight tremble came from the ground, becoming more obvious and intense. It was as though a massive army was charging over. At that moment, Xia Qingying and Liang Qiu sensed it as well. Someone was here. "Be careful, everyone." Xia Qingying raised her arm immediately and hollered softly. The 100 Snow Wind Ridge guards withdrew their dermic treasures from their storage bags and glared into the distance warily. Before long, dust billowed in the distance. From the looks of it, there were at least hundreds of living beings charging over in an aggressive manner. Woo! Before everyone could see who it was, a shuddering wolf howl sounded from the dust with a hint of blood and cruelty. The expressions of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge changed. Chapter 1804, No Mercy. Chapter 1804, No Mercy. It's over. It's over. Liang Qiu's expression was terrible and his eyes shone with fear. As though he was greatly frightened, he was flustered and murmured softly. If that was the case for the guard commander of Snow Wind Ridge, it was even worse for the others. Although Xia Qingying was calm, her face was pale and she looked nervous. "Who is it?" Su Zimo frowned and asked. "One of the 4 great bandits, the evil wolf army." Xia Qingying said sternly, "I heard that every black immortal in the evil wolf army has a black scale fiend wolf as their mount, and they come and go like the wind. The evil wolf army adheres to the wolf nature and is violent and bloodthirsty. Almost no faction that they target will survive. Back then, it was the evil wolf army that made a comeback and brought down the 3 major factions of the Dragon Abyss Star bit by bit." Su Zimo asked, "What's the cultivation of the leader of the evil wolf army?" "Legend has it that he's a grade 8 black immortal," Xia Qingying said softly. Su Zimo said, "The evil wolf army at the front has around 500 people. This should only be a small group of the evil wolf army, and the leader has not arrived personally. We won't be able to defend against the ordinary commanders of the evil wolf army as well." Xia Qingying shook her head gently. "Strange." Suddenly, Xia Qingying frowned and murmured, "This is the territory of Blood Sun Valley. Why would the evil wolf army appear? Furthermore, we only have 100,000 immortal herbs for this trip. There's no reason for us to be targeted by a faction like the evil wolf army." As everyone spoke, The army in the distance had already arrived with howls of wolves. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. The leader of the evil wolf army wore bronze armor that was stained with blood and wielded a gigantic halberd. The wolf beneath him had a menacing expression, and its eyes shone with a green glint. It bared its mouth and revealed sharp fangs that were filled with saliva. The ferocious wolf was covered in pitch-black scales and looked incomparably tough. It was invulnerable and had a muscular body like a gigantic elephant. The horses of the many guards of Snow Wind Ridge shivered like lambs, waiting to be slaughtered in front of the black scale fiend wolves. Howl! The leader raised the halberd in his hands and whistled, looking at Xia Qingying and the others excitedly. As though they had received an order, the 500-strong evil wolf army behind him split into two groups and surrounded everyone from Snow Wind Ridge, roaring excitedly. Under the encirclement of the wolves, the horses of the many guards of Snow Wind Ridge could not even stand still and knelt down one after another. Instantly, the Snow Wind Ridge was in chaos. The only thing that could stand was the single-horned divine beast beneath Xia Qingying. Even the scarlet blood horse beneath Su Zimo knelt down. Ha 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 ha. When they saw that, the crowd of the evil wolf army burst into laughter. Rank 5 Black Immortal, it's really over this time round. With a sweep of his spirit consciousness, Liang Qiu detected the cultivation realm of the bronze-armored cultivator leading the evil wolf army, and his face turned ashen. Su Zimo could clearly see that apart from the Grade 5 Black Immortal leading the group, there were more than 30 Grade 4 Black Immortals in the surrounding 500-strong evil wolf army. Be it in terms of numbers or combat strength, the evil wolf army was far superior to everyone from Snow Wind Ridge. Where are you guys going? The bronze-armored cultivator rode on the tall black scale fiend wolf and looked down at Xia Qingying and the others, asking leisurely with a mocking gaze. I'm Xia Qingying of Snow Wind Ridge. May I know how to address you, exalted immortal? Although Xia Qingying was a woman, she could still maintain her composure. She took a deep breath and asked loudly. On the side of Snow Wind Ridge, although Liang Qiu was the commander of the guards, he was completely at a loss. Su Zimo was the only other one who could maintain his composure. Liang Qiu glanced at Su Zimo and sneered internally. This person has just ascended and doesn't know the ferocity of the evil wolf army. The ignorant are truly fearless. You're Xia Qingying? Indeed, you're quite beautiful. No wonder. Before the bronze-armored cultivator could finish, he paused and gave a strange laugh. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. The bronze-armored cultivator seemed to be implying something. Xia Qingying suppressed the fear in her heart and continued, Snow Wind Ridge is only a small faction in the vicinity. Our territory is filled with cultivators who ascended from the lower worlds. All these years, we have been obedient and worked hard, planting immortal herbs to exchange for essence condensation pills. I know that all of you are also people who ascended from the lower worlds. Exalted immortals, please show mercy and let us off on account that we're all from the lower worlds. Ha 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 ha. The evil wolf army burst into laughter once more. Many of the evil wolf army soldiers had mocking expressions as they looked at Xia Qingying as though they were looking at an idiot. The bronze-armored cultivator sneered, Young lady, you're truly naive. If we let you guys off, we'll have nothing to eat or cultivate with. Xia Qingying said, You guys can also farm spirit fields. Humph. Before Xia Qingying could finish, the bronze-armored cultivator harumphed coldly and interrupted her. We joined the evil wolf army because we don't want to be like you guys and be used as lambs. The immortal herbs ripens once every 100 years on this Dragon Abyss star. We don't have the patience. On the Dragon Abyss star, it was much easier to rob and steal resources than to plant immortal herbs obediently. That was also the reason why there were so many bandits on the Dragon Abyss star, and the 4 great bandits was even formed. Exalted immortal, I only have slightly more than 100,000 immortal herbs for this trip to Blood Sun Valley. Xia Qingying said, I'm willing to hand over the 100,000 immortal herbs to all of you, but please spare our lives, exalted immortals. It was fine if the 100,000 immortal herbs were gone. However, Xia Qingying wanted to return with the 100 guards safely. Right from the beginning, Su Zimo had not said anything. He did not intend to stay in Snow Wind Ridge for too long. He did not want to provoke a great enemy and trouble for Snow Wind Ridge because of his rash actions. It would be best if the evil wolf army could leave right away after obtaining the immortal herbs. Fufu, the bronze-armored cultivator, sneered with a cold gaze as he raised the halberd in his hands and said slowly, "I'm going to take away the immortal herbs, but I'm going to kill as well. Apart from that woman, kill everyone else." Understood. Many of the evil wolf army agreed excitedly with bloodshot eyes. However, everyone on the side of Snow Wind Ridge was devastated. Evil thief. Suddenly, Xia Qingying shrieked with widened eyes, "If you really want to kill us, we'll fight to the death and your evil wolf army will suffer considerable losses as well." Actually, everyone from Snow Wind Ridge knew that their clash with the evil wolf army was akin to striking a stone with an egg. The evil wolf army would most likely be able to devour the 100 of them with a single charge. Kill. The bronze-armored cultivator was unmoved and pointed his halberd with a cold voice. Hold on. Right then, a calm voice sounded from the crowd. The bronze-armored cultivator lowered his head slightly, and a green-robed man walked out from the crowd of Snow Wind Ridge. He had refined features and looked like a frail scholar. Chapter 1805, Kill You. Chapter 1805, Kill You. Su Zimo walked towards the bronze-armored cultivator at an unhurried pace. Even against the tall and ferocious fiend wolves, he was still calm. Everyone from Snow Wind Ridge was secretly surprised. Everything else aside, his strong mental fortitude and courage alone far surpassed them. The black scale fiend wolf that the bronze-armored cultivator rode on was at the level 4 black essence realm. It was a grade 4 black demon. Even Liang Qiu did not dare to approach. Fellow Taoist Su? Xia Qingying's gaze landed on Su Zimo, and she suddenly felt a sense of anticipation. But soon, her expression dimmed. The difference between them was too great. If Su Zimo was a grade 5 black immortal, he might have had a chance to negotiate with the other party. However, Su Zimo was only a grade 4 black immortal. This difference in cultivation realm could be equivalent to tens of thousands of years of cultivation on the Dragon Abyss star. Initially, Su Zimo had no intention of stepping in. However, since the evil wolf army wanted to kill them all, he had no choice but to step forward. "What are you doing?" The bronze-armored cultivator looked down at Su Zimo from above with a mocking expression, as though he was looking at an ant. The green-robed cultivator standing at the front was not even as tall as the legs of the black-scale fiend wolf. As long as he said anything, the black-scale fiend wolf could devour the green-robed cultivator in a single mouthful. However, at that moment, the bronze-armored cultivator was sitting on the black-scale fiend wolf and did not notice that the ferocity in the latter's eyes had vanished. Instead, the grade 4 black demon looked at Su Zimo with confusion and avoidance, as though it was wary of something. "Nothing much." Su Zimo raised his head slightly and said indifferently, "Everyone, just disperse after taking the immortal herbs. There's no need to kill everyone." "What?" As though he had heard the greatest joke in the world, the bronze-armored cultivator looked at the other cultivators of the evil wolf army. The many evil wolf army soldiers exchanged glances before bursting into laughter. "Is he an idiot? How can a grade 4 black immortal speak to our boss like that? Perhaps he wants to be the first to die?" The bronze-armored cultivator smiled at Su Zimo as well and asked, "I want to kill you all. What can you do to me?" "Kill you." Suddenly, Su Zimo spat out 2 words. The moment he said that, he vanished from the spot and in a flash, released heavenly feet, boundless golden light, and other lesser divine powers. Almost instantly, Su Zimo arrived on the black-scale fiend wolf's back. It was too fast. Su Zimo's action had exceeded everyone's expectations. Nobody could react to it either. "You." The bronze-armored cultivator was a grade 5 black immortal after all, and his pupils constricted violently when he realized that something was amiss. However, At that moment, he did not even have time to release any divine powers or secret skills, let alone dodge. The bronze-armored cultivator could only wave the halberd in his hands instinctively and thrust it towards the incoming green figure. Time was too short, and the bronze-armored cultivator could not even use his full strength for that thrust. However, Su Zimo had prepared for this for a long time. He extended his palm and in a flash, gripped the tip of the bronze-armored cultivator's halberd and pushed forward. Unable to maintain his grip on the halberd, the bronze-armored cultivator let go instantly. The next moment, blood flashed. The bronze-armored cultivator felt a sharp pain in his chest and his eyes widened. Everyone from Snow Wind Ridge was shocked as well. With that attack, Su Zimo used the tail of the halberd to pierce the armor, flesh, and blood of the bronze-armored cultivator. A bloodied half of the halberd protruded from the back of the bronze-armored cultivator in a shocking manner. How strong did one have to be to do that? At that moment, Su Zimo had just said the second word of kill you. In other words, the moment Su Zimo said those two words, a bloody hole appeared on the bronze-armored cultivator's body. For the body of a black immortal, this was a fatal injury. The life force of the bronze-armored cultivator's body drained rapidly. The bronze-armored cultivator was slightly dazed before he reacted and wanted to escape from his body with his essence spirit. However, he was way too slow. After Su Zimo pierced him with his halberd, he extended his finger and tapped the glabella of the bronze-armored cultivator gently. Poof! A bloody hole appeared on the bronze-armored cultivator's tough glabella. His essence spirit was destroyed on the spot. The entire process merely took a single breath. It was not because the bronze-armored cultivator was too weak, but because he was caught off guard. In the lower worlds, it was common for people to challenge and kill above their levels. Those who had ascended were also skilled in this method. However, in the upper world, the difference of a single level on the Dragon Abyss Star was worlds apart. Furthermore, everyone ascended from the lower worlds and were all paragons and monster incarnates. How much difference could there be between them? Let alone the fact that Su Zimo was an entire level beneath him. Unfortunately, the bronze-armored cultivator did not know that even though they had both ascended from the lower worlds, there was a huge difference between him and Su Zimo. He had only passed through the 1 of 9 heavenly tribulation while Su Zimo had passed through the 4 of 9 heavenly tribulation. More importantly, Su Zimo's flesh was the only green lotus true body in the world that had already grown to grade 9. Even if the bronze-armored cultivator was on guard, he might not be able to escape from Su Zimo's killing methods, let alone the fact that he was unprepared. This scene caused an uproar. The people of Snow Wind Ridge were not the only ones. Even the surrounding evil wolf army was stunned. Dead. The leader of their army, a grade 5 black immortal, died for no reason. He died in the hands of a grade 4 black immortal. Xia Qingying was shocked as well. At that moment, the decisiveness that Su Zimo displayed was completely different from his usual gentle and elegant scholar self. Roar! The bronze-armored cultivator's mount, the grade 4 black scale fiend wolf, could not help but howl when it sensed that. The black scale fiend wolf leaped up, wanting to push Su Zimo off its back. Humph! Su Zimo rode on the black scale fiend wolf motionlessly and suddenly exerted strength to sink. Howl! The black scale fiend wolf let out a tragic cry. Right in front of everyone, the gigantic black scale fiend wolf was pushed down by Su Zimo. Crack! 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 The jarring sound of bones cracking could be heard. The spine of the black scale fiend wolf was snapped by the terrifying power released by Su Zimo. Thump! The black scale fiend wolf smashed heavily onto the ground and could no longer stand up as dust billowed. Su Zimo pressed his palm on the black scale fiend wolf's head and descended gently. That seemingly casual palm strike shattered the black scale fiend wolf's head, and even its essence spirit could not escape. Kill! The other evil wolf army soldiers reacted and shouted. Su Zimo's gaze intensified as he glared at the rank 4 black immortal who gave the order. In a flash, He vanished from the spot and arrived before the latter, shouting softly, "Immobilize." The moment that person summoned his dermic treasure and was about to smash it towards Su Zimo, he felt a mysterious power wrap around his body and he could not move at all. Lesser Divine Power, Body Immobilization Technique. Chapter 1806, Defeat. Chapter 1806, Defeat. The body immobilization technique was comprehended by the Dragon Phoenix True Body through the Saber Emperor's inheritance of the Sea Calming Manual. Although the Dragon Phoenix True Body had vanished, the Lesser Divine Power was successfully inherited after the Dragon Phoenix Essence Spirit fused with the Green Lotus Essence Spirit. Among the same cultivation realm, the restriction of the body immobilization technique was not obvious. In fact, it was less than a breath. However, that momentary pause was enough for Su Zimo. Swoosh! A green streak of light charged in front of the Grade 4 Black Immortal and pushed forward with his knees, colliding against the latter's chest with immense force. The terrifying burst power smashed the Grade 4 Black Immortal into pieces and his flesh splattered everywhere. Immediately after, Su Zimo barged into the crowd and charged forward. None of the Black Immortals of the Evil Wolf Army could stop him. Instantly, the Evil Wolf Army fell into chaos. Xia Qingying and the others from Snow Wind Ridge were dumbfounded. Among them, there were also some cultivators who were proficient in body tempering. However, after they ascended to the upper world, due to the lack of heaven and earth essence chi, it became extremely difficult for them to even raise their cultivation, let alone refine their flesh. None of them had ever seen such domineering methods. In the blink of an eye, a Grade 5 and 4 Black Immortal of the Evil Wolf Army were dead. It was like a humanoid dermic treasure that was extremely sharp and no one could match its sharpness. At that moment, Xia Qingying snapped out of her stupor and shouted hurriedly, "Snow Wind Ridge Guards, listen up! Attack with all your might and help fellow Taoist Su kill the enemies." "No, mistress." Earlier on, when he was surrounded by the Evil Wolf Army, Liang Qiu did not say anything and hid in the crowd. But now, he suddenly jumped out. Liang Qiu gulped. "Mistress, don't be rash. The Evil Wolf Army is violent and bloodthirsty, seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. If you kill the cultivators of the Evil Wolf Army, they will definitely take revenge. We've already killed someone. Do you think we'll be able to avoid this?" Xia Qingying glared at Liang Qiu. Liang Qiu replied hurriedly, "Su Zimo was the one who killed them. He had just ascended and stayed in Snow Wind Ridge for a year. He's not considered as one of us. As long as we draw a clear line with him, we can." "What did you say?" Xia Qingying was enraged and looked at Liang Qiu in disbelief, shouting, "Su Zimo is someone of Snow Wind Ridge. You have to understand that if not for him, all of us, including you, would have died under the butcher's knife of the Evil Wolf Army." Her words were extremely harsh, and she did not give Liang Qiu any face at all. Liang Qiu stammered and blushed. "Commander Liang, aren't you betraying Guard Su by doing this?" "That's right. Guard Su is killing the enemies at the front while we hide at the back and watch idly. Isn't that way too heartless?" Some of the guards who had followed Liang Qiu for many years could not stand it anymore and whispered. Liang Qiu's expression was terrible. Part of the reason why he stood out and wanted to abandon Su Zimo was because he had a personal feud with the latter. On the other hand, he was indeed afraid of the Evil Wolf Army's revenge. Xia Qingying said in a deep voice, "Everyone, listen to my orders. If we can't defeat the Evil Wolf Army this time round, all of us will die here." "Kill." Many Snow Wind Ridge guards hollered and summoned all sorts of black-grade dermic treasures, divine powers, and immortal arts to charge into the battlefield. Actually, even without the addition of the people from Snow Wind Ridge, the Evil Wolf Army was already on the brink of defeat. They could not do anything to Su Zimo. Su Zimo's movement technique was extremely agile, and he twisted and turned in the crowd, as though he possessed an indescribable spirit perception that could avoid most dermic treasures and divine powers. Some dermic treasures were about to strike him. Out of nowhere, He took out a handful of golden yellow sand and circled around him, creating an impenetrable storm. Although the yellow sand looked ordinary, their dermic treasures and divine powers could not penetrate it. The divine powers dissipated when they struck it. After the collision, the dermic treasures fell from midair without any resistance. There was no way the bandits knew that this was an utmost treasure derived from the Grade 9 creation Green Lotus. The 9 heavens living soil had a myriad of transformations and shocking defense, notwithstanding the fact that almost all of them had inferior black-grade dermic treasures. Even superior or supreme black-grade dermic treasures could not shake the 9 heavens living soil. The ferocity in the eyes of the evil wolf army cultivators gradually disappeared. After a short battle, it turned into confusion and eventually fear. They could not injure Su Zimo at all. Instead, he killed a few Grade 4 Black Immortals in succession. Even a Grade 4 Black Immortal would not last more than 2 or 3 rounds against Su Zimo. Right then, Xia Qingying led everyone from Snow Wind Ridge to join the battlefield and charge over. In reality, although Xia Qingying and the others had the advantage in numbers, they were not as terrifying as Su Zimo in the eyes of the evil wolf army. However, at that moment, the morale of the evil wolf army had already dispersed. They broke down completely after being charged by the people of Snow Wind Ridge and could no longer hold on. Dangerous waters. A Grade 4 Black Immortal of the evil wolf army shouted. It was a code language of the bandits for everyone to retreat and leave. Without hesitation, the bandits of the evil wolf army rode on their black-scale fiend wolves and fled from the battlefield into the distance. Even without the urging of the evil wolf army, the black-scale fiend wolves they were riding on fled for their lives without turning back. Although they were demon beasts and had innately strong bodies, they were extremely weak against the green-robed cultivator. The strangest thing was that the green-robed cultivator exuded an aura that made them shudder. Against that aura, they even had the urge to sprawl on the ground. Although the evil wolf army arrived quickly, they fled even faster. Like the wind, dust billowed as they fled in all directions, leaving dozens of corpses on the ground. Su Zimo sneered. Just as he was about to chase after them, Xia Qingying stopped him. Fellow Taoist Su. Xia Qingying ran over hurriedly. Forget it. Don't chase after a cornered enemy. These black-scale fiend wolves are extremely fast. Even my mount, the one-horned divine beast, won't be able to catch up to them. If even the one-horned divine beast could not do it, the other mounts of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge were even worse. At that moment, they were still sprawled on the ground and did not dare to get up. Although flying through the air was fast on the Dragon Abyss Star, it took a huge toll on one's body and one would not be able to sustain it for long. Let's hurry and tidy up the battlefield and leave this place lest the evil wolf army returns. Xia Qingying looked at Su Zimo with an inquiring gaze. Unknowingly, she had already regarded Su Zimo as the commander of this trip. You guys leave first. I'll follow and take a look. Su Zimo smiled and in a flash, sprinted in the direction where the evil wolf army disappeared at a speed that did not seem fast. Sigh. Just as Xia Qingying was about to speak, Su Zimo had already left. How hypocritical. Liang Qiu sneered. What a joke. Does he think that he can outrun the black-scale fiend wolves with just his feet? Mistress, that man is just pretending. You don't have to bother about him. Chapter 1807, Chen Xuanyang. Chapter 1807, Chen Xuanyang. Xia Qingying glared at Liang Qiu coldly and ignored him. She had a deep impression of Liang Qiu's cowardice earlier on. Although Liang Qiu was talented and his cultivation realm increased rapidly and his combat strength was considered as one of the upper echelons of Snow Wind Ridge, his guts and boldness were truly unsuitable for him to be the commander of the guards of Snow Wind Ridge. At the very least, Su Zimo was much stronger than Liang Qiu in every aspect. Although Xia Qingying did not say it, she had a plan in mind. Upon returning to Snow Wind Ridge, she would remove Liang Qiu from his position as the commander. After Xia Qingying's cold reaction, Liang Qiu could vaguely guess that her impression of him was probably extremely bad. "Mistress, what should we do now?" A guard of Snow Wind Ridge walked forward and asked. "Let's tidy up the battlefield and return to Snow Wind Ridge immediately." Xia Qingying waved her hand and ordered. Many cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge agreed readily and began cleaning up the battlefield. In this battle, none of the cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge died. At most, they were only slightly injured. The moment they joined the battlefield, the evil wolf army was already fleeing in defeat. In this trip, Su Zimo killed a total of 52 soldiers from the evil wolf army. Among them was the leader of the evil wolf army, a grade 5 Black Immortal, and 13 grade 4 Black Immortals. Many Snow Wind Ridge guards collected the dermic treasures and storage bags of the evil wolf army and handed them to Xia Qingying. Those items were quite a gain for Snow Wind Ridge. Most of the Black Immortals in Snow Wind Ridge did not have black grade dermic treasures yet. Ta, ta, ta. Right then, the ground shook violently once more and dust billowed in the distance. Another army was charging over. Not good. Liang Qiu's expression changed starkly as he exclaimed, "The main force of the evil wolf army must be here for revenge. I knew it. Su Zimo truly caused a huge trouble for us. We're doomed." When the other Snow Wind Ridge guards heard that, their faces were ashen with fear. However, Xia Qingying was in no hurry to make a judgment as confusion flashed through her eyes. "I got it. Su Zimo wasn't chasing after the escaping evil wolf army at all. He fled right away instead." Liang Qiu said hatefully, "He knows that he's in big trouble. That's why he escaped and pushed the blame to our Snow Wind Ridge." What Commander Liang said is not impossible. That's right. No matter what, Su Zimo has only ascended for a year and doesn't have any feelings for our Snow Wind Ridge. It's only logical for him to leave just like that. Earlier on, I was wondering why Su Zimo wanted to catch up to the evil wolf army since it was impossible for him to do so. Now I know why. Upon hearing Liang Qiu's words, many of the Snow Wind Ridge guards wavered. "Don't talk nonsense." Xia Qingying hollered and looked at the dust in the distance. "These people should not be from the evil wolf army. Everyone, there's no need to panic." It was already strange for a small squad of the evil wolf army to appear in this area. Why would the main force of the evil wolf army appear? Furthermore, even if the evil wolf army wanted revenge, they could not have arrived so quickly. The moment the evil wolf army left, this army appeared. Moreover, the direction that the army came from was Blood Sun Valley. Xia Qingying already had a vague guess. Before long, everyone caught sight of the flag waving in the army. Indeed, Xia Qingying nodded. The flag was completely black with a blood-colored sun tattooed in the middle, resembling a rising sun. That was the flag of Blood Sun Valley. Many of the Snow Wind Ridge guards heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the flag. Liang Qiu seemed to have forgotten what he had just said as he smiled embarrassedly. Thankfully, it was just a false alarm. Before long, the army arrived before everyone from Snow Wind Ridge. At a glance, there were more than 1,000 of them, and they were fully equipped. Their leader was a young man in silver-white armor. He held a silver spear in his hands, and his black hair was tied up. His face was thin, and his eyes were long and narrow, giving off a sinister feeling. It's the young master of Blood Sun Valley's Valley Master, Chen Xuanyang, a dignified grade 6 Black Immortal. Liang Qiu whispered when he saw that person. This was the first time that some of the Snow Wind Ridge guards had seen this person, and they revealed looks of surprise and reverence. Grade 6 Black Immortal. Even the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge was only a grade 6 Black Immortal. It was said that the Valley Master of Blood Sun Valley was a grade 8 Black Immortal. Chen Xuanyang led the army here and looked at the corpses of the evil wolf army not far away with a cold glint in his eyes. "Young Master Chen, why are you here?" Xia Qingying welcomed him with cupped fists. Chen Xuanyang smiled at Xia Qingying with a bright gaze. "Qingying, I've told you before that there's no need to be so distant between us. Just call me Xuanyang." Many guards could tell that the young master of Blood Sun Valley looked at Xia Qingying differently. There had long been rumors in Snow Wind Ridge that this young master of Blood Sun Valley had feelings for their young mistress. However, no one was certain. Xia Qingying hesitated for a moment before nodding. Xuanyang. Yes? Xuanyang nodded slightly before saying slowly, during this period of time, my subordinate reported that traces of one of the 4 great bandits, the Evil Wolf Army, have appeared in the vicinity of Blood Sun Valley. Today happens to be the day when Snow Wind Ridge comes to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills. I was worried that something might happen to you, so I led the army to receive you personally. To think that I was still a step too late. At that point, Xuanyang looked at the dozens of corpses of the Evil Wolf Army with a cold expression. However, there was a strange look in his eyes. The Evil Wolf Army has truly targeted you guys. Riding on a horse, Xuanyang came before Xia Qingying slowly and asked with concern, Qingying, are you hurt? I'm fine. Xia Qingying shook her head. The guards of Snow Wind Ridge are fine this time round as well. There were no casualties. Oh. Seemingly surprised, Xuanyang asked curiously, the Evil Wolf Army is violent, bloodthirsty, and powerful. To think that you guys would be able to kill dozens of them. I'm truly impressed. Xuanyang swept his gaze across everyone from Snow Wind Ridge and frowned slightly. Strange, among the guards on this trip, the strongest are you and this commander who are only grade 4 Black Immortals. How did you guys kill that grade 5 Black Immortal of the Evil Wolf Army? Xuanyang asked again. Just as Xia Qingying was about to reply, her heart skipped a beat and she asked, how did you know that he's a grade 5 Black Immortal? If a cultivator was alive, his spirit consciousness could detect the other party's cultivation realm. However, it was difficult to detect a dead person accurately. It was truly strange that Xuanyang could accurately say that the leader of the Evil Wolf Army was a grade 5 Black Immortal. Chapter 1808, Tracking. Chapter 1808, Tracking. Chen Xuanyang's expression was unchanged as he explained in a natural manner. Before this, the guards of Blood Sun Valley fought with this Evil Wolf Army, and we lost a few guards. The remaining people returned to Blood Sun Valley and told me that the leader of this Evil Wolf Army is a grade 5 Black Immortal. I see. Xia Qingying's expression softened as she nodded. Earlier on, an extremely terrifying guess flashed through her mind. But now, it seemed like she was thinking too much. Qingying. When Xuanyang saw Xia Qingying frowning in deep thought, he smiled and called out softly, You haven't answered my question. From what I know, there are hundreds of people in this Evil Wolf Army. Be it in terms of numbers or combat strength, they are far superior to you guys. How could? The scene before him was indeed incomprehensible. On the battlefield, there were dozens of corpses of the Evil Wolf Army lying everywhere. However, everyone from Snow Wind Ridge was almost completely fine. Xia Qingying said, One of my personal guards attacked and killed those bandits of the Evil Wolf Army. He led us to fight back the Evil Wolf Army. Oh. Chen Xuanyang's eyes lit up as he asked, Your personal guard? Why haven't I heard you mention him before? What's his cultivation realm? Grade 5 or 6 Black Immortal? Xuanyang asked a few questions in succession. Xia Qingying frowned slightly. Right then, Liang Qiu remarked sourly at the side, Young Master Chen, you've overestimated him. He's only a grade 4 Black Immortal. Grade 4 Black Immortal? A cold glint flashed through Chen Xuanyang's eyes. If this person was a grade 4 Black Immortal, he had not overestimated this person. Instead, he had actually underestimated this person. Xuanyang looked at Liang Qiu deeply. He caught the displeasure and jealousy in Liang Qiu's tone. Xuanyang cupped his fists towards Liang Qiu. Commander Liang, you must have played an important role in how Snow Wind Ridge was able to defeat the Evil Wolf Army this time round. And no. Liang Qiu felt flattered and answered hurriedly. Notwithstanding the fact that Chen Xuanyang was the young master of Blood Sun Valley, it was also an honor for a grade 6 Black Immortal to praise him as such. Liang Qiu coughed gently and straightened his back unconsciously. It's all thanks to the mistress's leadership that we were able to defeat the evil wolf army this time round. Naturally, it's not just one person's credit for Snow Wind Ridge's combined efforts. Xuanyang asked in a seemingly casual manner. Who is he? Why haven't I heard of him before? Humph. Liang Qiu said. He's just a lowlife who has just ascended. He's only been in Snow Wind Ridge for less than a year. Cough. Liang Qiu was about to continue when he was interrupted by a gentle cough from Xia Qingying. Xia Qingying cupped her fists towards Xuanyang and smiled. Thank you for your help this time round, Xuanyang. We have to return to Snow Wind Ridge and inform Father about this so that he can make preparations. Xuanyang pondered for a moment. After all, many of the evil wolf army escaped. I'll be worried if you guys return now. Qingying, follow me back to Blood Sun Valley. Nothing will happen with me escorting you guys. Xia Qingying hesitated. The purpose of her trip to Blood Sun Valley was to exchange for essence condensation pills. If she returned empty-handed, the medicinal farmers in Snow Wind Ridge might be disappointed. However, she was worried about Snow Wind Ridge. Xuanyang seemed to have read Xia Qingying's mind and smiled gently. Qingying, don't worry. I can send a grade 5 black immortal under my lead to report to Snow Wind Ridge and have them make preparations. If the bandits truly invade, he can stay in Snow Wind Ridge to help defend. Thereafter, before Xia Qingying could reply, Xuanyang glanced sideways and said in a deep voice, Tanhong, report everything that happened here to Snow Wind Ridge. Understood, young master. A muscular man in black martial arts attire cupped his fists towards Xuanyang and rode his horse towards Snow Wind Ridge. Let's go, Qingying. Xuanyang turned slightly and made an inviting gesture. Xia Qingying frowned slightly and was still hesitant. Pondering for a moment, she beckoned for 2 Snow Wind Ridge guards and instructed softly, the 2 of you, stay in the vicinity and hide carefully. If you see Guard Su return, take him with you to Blood Sun Valley. Xia Qingying was still worried about Su Zimo. She was not worried about Su Zimo's safety. However, she thought that if Su Zimo were to return here, he would definitely need someone to guide him. After all, Su Zimo had never been to Blood Sun Valley. Mistress, what if Guard Su doesn't return? A guard muttered softly. I think what Commander Liang said makes sense. Guard Su might have escaped out of fear of the evil wolf army's revenge. Don't think too much. Xia Qingying berated in a low voice. Stay here and guard until he returns. If he doesn't. Pausing for a moment, she continued, when I return from Blood Sun Valley, I'll naturally come back for you guys. It'll just be tougher on the 2 of you. Understood. The 2 Snow Wind Ridge guards agreed. After making those arrangements, Xia Qingying turned to Xuanyang and smiled. Xuanyang, let's go. All right. Xuanyang nodded slightly and led the army of more than 1,000 people from Blood Sun Valley, escorting the 100-odd people from Snow Wind Ridge towards Blood Sun Valley. After Su Zimo left the line of sight of Xia Qingying and the others, he began to fly through the air. His speed increased exponentially as he chased after the few escaping evil wolf army soldiers. Since he had already attacked this time round, he would not leave any trouble for himself or Snow Wind Ridge. He had to kill all of them to prevent future troubles. Earlier on, Su Zimo could not attack with his full strength in front of everyone from Snow Wind Ridge and did not reveal many of his methods. Now that the evil wolf army was fleeing in all directions, he would have to wait for them to regroup if he wanted to wipe them out. Therefore, Su Zimo merely watched the few grade 4 black immortals of the evil wolf army closely and hung back slowly, in no hurry to attack. He was certain that the evil wolf army must have some means of communication that could gather the survivors who had escaped. The few grade 4 black immortals of the evil wolf army were extremely wary. As they fled, they changed their routes countless times and even stopped from time to time to check out their surroundings. True enough, a long time later, after ensuring that they were out of danger, the few of them stopped in their tracks and took out a talisman from their storage bags. After writing a few words on it, they tore it apart. The talisman soared into the skies and released a divine light in midair before dissipating rapidly. The few Grade 4 black immortals jumped down from the black scale fiend wolves with pale expressions and panted slightly, as though they still had lingering fears. "That person shouldn't be chasing us," someone said. "Don't worry, no matter how fast that person is, he can't compare to the strength of our black scale fiend wolves. Even if he had chased after us, we should have long lost him." Another person said. Chapter 1809, Complete Annihilation. Chapter 1809, Complete Annihilation. The few Grade 4 black immortals of the evil wolf army did not notice that the person they were trying to shake off was approaching rapidly without them noticing. Even the black scale fiend wolves with their keen spirit perception did not notice it, let alone them. Zimo had completely retracted his aura and was emitting the aura of plants. Hidden in the grass that was more than half the height of a human, he swayed with the plants and was almost one with his surroundings without any flaws. Zimo's movement technique was agile as he climbed up a gigantic ancient tree swiftly. He sat on a branch and looked down at the few evil wolf army soldiers not far away. At that distance, Zimo could hear their conversation clearly. "We've truly suffered a huge loss this time round." A large-eared cultivator grit his teeth and said hatefully. A bald man cursed, "Bloody hell, who would have thought that there would be such a troublesome nut to crack in Snow Wind Ridge? Our boss was killed by that lad." Boss Hook was careless. If it was a normal fight, that lad would definitely not be a match for Boss Hook. Another person said. The large-eared cultivator asked, "What should we do now?" "What else can we do? Let's wait for the others to gather first." The bald man could not help but curse again. "Bloody hell. When has our evil wolf army ever suffered such a huge loss? It's all Blood Sun Valley's young master's fault. That Xia Qingying." The large-eared cultivator grumbled. He wanted to play the hero to save the beauty and win her heart. He even wanted us to put on a show with him. But now, we didn't get a single immortal herb from Snow Wind Ridge. Instead, we suffered heavy losses. Zimo was initially on the ancient tree with a relaxed expression and closed eyes. At that point, he suddenly opened his eyes with a cold glint. "So, it's Blood Sun Valley's doing." Zimo sneered internally. It was no wonder why the evil wolf army would appear in this area. It was no wonder why it was such a coincidence that they encountered the obstruction of the evil wolf army just as they were rushing to Blood Sun Valley today. Another person said, "In my opinion, given Chen Xuanyang's cultivation, status, and the strength of Blood Sun Valley, he should have just forced himself on that young lady. How simple would that be?" The bald man sneered. "The father and son of Blood Sun Valley are hypocritical and love to play dirty. There have been countless factions that have been schemed against by them over the years. Heh, I heard that the reason why the three major factions were replaced by Blood Sun Valley back then was because they fell into the Valley Master's trap. In that short period of time, scattered evil wolf army soldiers had already arrived one after another to rendezvous with the large-eared cultivator, bald-headed man, and the others. By dusk, all the cultivators of the evil wolf army that escaped were gathered. The bald man counted with a dark expression and said hatefully, "Bloody hell. Including Boss Hook, we lost 52 brothers. We can't let this matter rest just like that. That's right. We'll make Snow Wind Ridge pay with blood. The evil wolf army is going to turn Snow Wind Ridge into rivers of blood and kill every single one of them." Many evil wolf army soldiers shouted murderously. The bald man said in a deep voice, "Everyone, don't be anxious. I heard that the territorial lord of Snow Wind Ridge is rather capable and is a grade 6 black immortal. Given our strength, it'll be difficult for us to go against him. I'm guessing that if we want to destroy Snow Wind Ridge, we'll have to ask a leader of our evil wolf army to do it. There's no time to lose. Let's head back now." The large-eared cultivator said, "Since there's no time to lose, how about I send you guys on your way?" Right then, a voice sounded from the chaotic crowd, clearly out of place with the surrounding clamor. "MMM?" The bald man's expression changed as he surveyed his surroundings and shouted, "Who was it? Who spoke?" "Me." In a flash, Su Zimo floated down from the ancient tree and stood in midair quietly. His blood chi surged and his eyes shone with a divine light. Since Su Zimo wanted to kill all of them this time round, he did not hide the bloodline of his green lotus true body. It's him. When did that person catch up? The expressions of many evil wolf army cultivators changed as they exclaimed. The bald cultivator felt his limbs go cold, but he could still maintain his composure as he shouted, "Brothers, don't panic. Let's join forces and fight this person once more. I don't believe that with more than 400 brothers, we can't defeat a lone man like him." All these years, the hands of the evil wolf army had been stained with countless blood, and all of them were bloodthirsty. At that point, many of the evil wolf army soldiers had ferocious gazes as they summoned their dermic treasures and channeled their divine powers and secret skills to release a ferocious attack. Swoosh! In a flash, Su Zimo released divine powers and dermic arts such as boundless golden light at an astonishing speed and dodged most of the dermic treasures. Before the remaining dermic treasures could strike him, he waved his sleeves and suddenly waved out a handful of yellow sand, devouring the dozens of incoming dermic treasures. All of a sudden, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Ever since he obtained the 9 Heavens living soil, he had only used it for defense and had never used it for offense. Right now, the 9 Heavens living soil enveloped dozens of inferior black-rayed dermic treasures, and Su Zimo's spirit consciousness seemed to fuse with every single grain of 9 Heavens living soil. With a single thought from him, the 9 Heavens living soil shone with a golden light and yellow sand surged. Every single speck of yellow sand released a powerful force that exerted strength and rubbed against one another. The dozens of dermic treasures were ground into sludge by the 9 Heavens living soil and scattered down from midair. Pissed! Many evil wolf army soldiers gasped when they saw that. Even Su Zimo was shocked, let alone them. The 9 Heavens living soil had unparalleled defense. To think that it could release such terrifying lethality when used for offense. Furthermore, this was a dark-grayed dermic treasure. If any living being were to fall into it, they would be ground into ashes by the yellow sand. With that thought, Su Zimo controlled the 9 Heavens living soil and sucked more than 10 black scale fiend wolves into it. Howl! The black scale fiend wolves only had time to let out a tragic cry before they were crushed into blood mists by the yellow sand and died. Even those tough scales could not withstand the friction of the yellow sand. The 9 Heavens living soil was extremely extraordinary and killed more than 10 black scale fiend wolves. However, there was no blood on the yellow sand, and it was still golden and shiny. Escape! When the evil wolf army saw that, they broke down once more and fled in all directions. Humph! Standing in midair, Su Zimo's gaze was like lightning as he said indifferently, "It's rare for us to be together. Don't leave." He conjured sword arts with both hands and pointed forward. Tsk, tsk, tsk. Suddenly, countless sword chi descended from the firmaments in a vast expanse of white. Like a torrential downpour, they poured down and enveloped the many evil wolf army soldiers. Heaven-slaying sword art. Chapter 1810, A Windfall. Chapter 1810, A Windfall. The heaven-slaying sword art was a top-tier immortal art of the upper world to begin with. It was only because of other reasons that he ended up in the lower world. The true terrifying might of the sword art was only revealed when it was released with heaven and earth essence chi. The sword chi was dense as rain and sharp as it buzzed and trembled. Descending from the skies, it enveloped more than 400 evil wolf army soldiers, and no one was spared. Poof, poof, poof. The sword chi pierced the bodies of the evil wolf army and let out a jarring sound, cutting through their flesh cleanly like a sharp blade. Most of the evil wolf army were grade 3 black immortals. Even a body-tempered level 3 black immortal could not defend against the sharpness of the heaven-slaying sword chi. Even the fiend wolves with tough scales were mostly killed by the torrential sword chi, let alone them. Actually, almost all the living cultivators on the Dragon Abyss Star had ascended from the lower worlds and had limited knowledge. They did not recognize the creation Green Lotus at all, let alone the heaven-slaying sword Qi. By the time the bandits realized that they could not defend against this person's sword Qi, it was already too late. Such a ferocious attack was devastating for the evil wolf army. Almost the moment the heaven-slaying sword Qi descended, more than half of the evil wolf army was pierced by the sword Qi and died on the spot. The sword rain descended and created white mists on the ground. However, before long, the white fog was dyed red by the blood that splattered everywhere. Only a few Grade 4 Black Immortals managed to survive with their dermic treasures, armor, divine powers, and immortal arts, wanting to break out of the range of the heaven-slaying sword Qi. Su Zimo looked down from above and sneered. Closing two fingers, he conjured another sword art and slashed forward. A shuddering killing intent burst forth and the ground shook. When the earth's killing intent is released, the dragon snake shall rise. Initially, only the martial Dao prime body comprehended the earth-slaying sword art. However, the martial Dao prime body smelted all divine powers and was not reliant on this sword art. He rarely released it either. The sword art could only unleash its greatest power on the Green Lotus true body. Therefore, before he ascended, the martial Dao prime body imparted the earth-slaying sword art to the Green Lotus true body. Roar! Pissed! Suddenly, a gigantic five-clawed divine dragon descended from the firmaments. It was filled with a chilling killing intent and was completely formed from sword Qi. The ground split open and a soaring serpent bathed in scarlet lava soared into the skies. Its body burned with flames as it reared its head and hissed. Su Zimo conjured a sword art and slashed forward, releasing the dragon snake. Looking at the two terrifying divine beasts, the remaining evil wolf army soldiers had ashen expressions and their eyes were filled with deep despair. The divine dragon and soaring serpent circled around the evil wolf army and started a massacre, chasing after some of them who managed to escape from the heaven-slaying sword rain. Tragic cries sounded one after another. The remaining evil wolf army was severely injured to begin with. Now that they were hunted by the divine dragon and soaring serpent, they were almost helpless. The sword rain poured down and a blood mist spread. The two divine beasts, the divine dragon and soaring serpent, galloped through the sword rain. In the misty rain, a green-robed man stood in midair with one hand behind his back with a calm expression. It was like a painting that felt surreal. About half an hour later, there was no longer any sound from the battlefield. The rain stopped and the divine beasts dispersed, leaving only corpses on the ground. Including the 400-odd black-scale fiend wolves, the remaining evil wolf army were all dead without exception. Exhaling gently, Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness and collected all the dermic treasures of the evil wolf army. Although he had no use for those dermic treasures, they seemed to be extremely valuable on the Dragon Abyss star. Su Zimo collected the storage bags of the evil wolf army and opened them up. Almost all of those storage bags contained essence nourishing grass, rainfrost flower, and many essence condensation pills. Those were extremely precious cultivation resources on the Dragon Abyss star. Su Zimo gathered the immortal herbs and essence condensation pills in the storage bags and made a rough count. He had obtained more than 1 million stalks of essence nourishing grass and rainfrost flower respectively, and more than 13,000 essence condensation pills. There were more than 2 million immortal herbs. According to the exchange standards of Blood Sun Valley, that was more than 20,000 essence condensation pills. In other words, Su Zimo had obtained more than 30,000 essence condensation pills from killing the evil wolf army. Including the dozens of evil wolf army soldiers he killed previously, there was a high chance that he could reach 40,000 essence condensation pills. This was a huge windfall. In the entire 10 years of Snow Wind Ridge, they could only collect 100,000 immortal herbs in exchange for 1,000 essence condensation pills. However, Su Zimo obtained 40,000 this time round. Su Zimo looked at the corpses on the ground and shook his head gently. It was no wonder why some cultivators and living beings that ascended would choose to join these bandits to kill and loot everywhere. This method was indeed much faster than planting immortal herbs obediently. At that moment, the skies were gradually turning dark. Su Zimo was prepared to leave and meet up with Xia Qingying and the others from Snow Wind Ridge. The moment he moved, he seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at the corpses of the evil wolf army in deep thought. Blood Sun Valley. In a grand hall, Xuanyang removed his armor and sat in the middle in a brocade robe. On his left were some cultivators of Blood Sun Valley. On his right were Xia Qingying and Liang Qiu. The other cultivators of Snow Wind Ridge were settled down as well. At that moment, night descended. The hall was brightly lit. On the table in front of Xia Qingying and the others were many spirit fruits, wine, and delicious delicacies cooked with the flesh of demon beasts. Every time they came to Blood Sun Valley to exchange for essence condensation pills, they would spend a night here. That was because it was already evening by the time everyone arrived at Blood Sun Valley. If they rushed back to Snow Wind Ridge overnight, it would be easy for accidents to happen. Each time, Xuanyang would set up a banquet in Blood Sun Valley to welcome Xia Qingying. This time round, the banquet prepared by Blood Sun Valley was even more sumptuous after Snow Wind Ridge repelled a massive enemy. However, Xia Qingying sat at the table and frowned slightly. She did not eat much and was a little distracted. At the side, Liang Qiu ate heartily. From time to time, he would raise his head and meet Xuanyang's gaze with a strange expression. Xia Qingying had other thoughts and did not notice this. A long time later, he smiled gently. Qingying, is there something on your mind? You should be happy that Snow Wind Ridge survived this calamity. Why are you still frowning? Xia Qingying forced a smile and did not reply. She looked at the sky outside and sighed internally. Suddenly, Xuanyang asked, Qingying, are you still thinking about that person? After a moment of silence, Xia Qingying mustered her courage and said, Xuanyang, I know that this request is a little overboard, but I still want to ask if Blood Sun Valley can lead some people to receive my guard. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.